Welcome, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 7th, 2017. This is the special and a special meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Before we begin, we'd like to take a definite moment of silence for everyone, all the victims of the horrific church shooting. So let's do that now. Thank you, everyone. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good evening. Let the record reflect Commissioners Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, and Goldsmith are present, and we have a quorum.
Where are you? I can't even see you. Where's Oh, you're right here.
Oh, I'm over here, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, Councilmember Martinez will be here shortly. If we could take possibly a couple of consent items first, and then when she gets here, we move on to her opening remarks, and then regular items A and B on the agenda.
Okay, we'll go right to 3A. Are there any speaker cards on any of the consent agenda items?
We have one speaker card for each consent agenda item A through I.
Okay, so let's start with 3A. Is it the same speaker on all of the cards?
It is the same speaker on
And
all.
there are no other speakers on any?
No other speakers
Okay,
on.
so let's call the speaker. for
Herman?
the first one. Mr. Herman, are you, would you be willing to make a combined comment to respect the time of all the people here, or do you want to do them one at a time?
I prefer one at a time, sir. For the record, please.
Okay, well, we're just going to do 3A now. And the other consent items, we're going to do after public comment at the end of the meeting. So go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Now that we have Chief of Police, Mr. Beck, available for the personal expenses statement, I would like to reflect for the budget and the future budget that we shut down all cadet programs in order to continue paying our officers of rank and file their raises on a timely manner. Set forth from today, I demand that all rank and file receive their compensatory.
Off topic, sir?
Okay, sir, let me reframe that statement. Compensatory statement of Chief Charlie Beck to reflect as set forth relating to personal expenses. Now, our rank and file experience tremendous stress where there are expenses for mental health.
You're off topic again. May I have a motion for approval of item 3A?
Motion to approve 3A?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to item, we'll go to item 3B. Do we have any speakers on item 3B?
We have two comment cards on 3B, starting with Herman, followed by Mr. Puppet. It was late, sir.
You can start the time.
Yes, please start the time. Stay on topic. All right. Let me stay on topic for the record. Department's report dated November 3rd, relative to a monetary fucked up donation for the amount of $15,000. That's 15/00.00 for the Los Angeles Police Foundation. You see, when you do a good job, you get a voluntary donation. When you do a bad job, you get a critic under the Brown Act to speak out against how to utilize this luncheon money to benefit our Los Angeles Police Department. Am I on topic still, Mr. Attorney? Thank you for your answer. Yes. Now that the department's employees under BPC number 17/0439 for the record, I like it to reflect that the impact of the Las Vegas attack. Now, let me remind you, 42 U.S.C. 12101 states that a man's disability is not an attack. 42 U.S.C. 12101. When we refer
Off
to the
topic,
Las,
sir. Last
when we
warning.
refer to the Las, would you please let me talk about Las Vegas? God's sake. By the Las Vegas attack, October 1st, 2017, as set forth for the record, never happened.
Next speaker.
Puppet.
Yes, they called your name. Go ahead.
Thank
Is there
you.
one speaker or two speakers? It's Puppet, so let Puppet talk, not
Yes.
you.
That's right. Do not interrupt me.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so now we have the 15,000 fucking dollars from the Los Angeles Police Foundation for this Las Vegas attack. Why? Why are we funding attacks in Las Vegas? This makes no sense to me. Police department employees impacted? How? How are they impacted? Are they going to do a study of prostitution and illegal gambling maybe in Las Vegas? What stays in Las Vegas never leaves Las Vegas.
Off topic.
So that's why 15,000 fucking dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse are to be utilized for the luncheon, to eat lunch meat in favor of the Las Vegas attack. It sounds like you're celebrating it. If you do not want to celebrate it, do not accept 3B, the donation of $15,000, even with 0 cents, for this fucking luncheon. It must be a very good luncheon. Where's it at? Pate, or is it over in Beverly
Off
Hills?
topic. May I have a motion for approval
Yes,
on 3B?
you son of a bitch. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, we're going to hold the rest of the consent agenda items until after public comment. And now we are going to welcome our council member. Where is she?
She's over here.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. That's your last warning. It's disruptive to the meeting. So, would you like to stand up so I can tell you straight out? Mr. Spindler, that was the last warning. If you disrupt the meeting again, we will ask you to leave. If you won't, then we will.
Oh, nice to see our friends here as well. Well, good evening, everyone. Is my mic on?
Yep.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me this evening. And I want to welcome the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissions to Van Nuys City Hall into my district. Those of you who are not familiar with my district, my communities that I represent are Alita, Lake Balboa, North Hills, Panorama City, Sun Valley, and the communities of Van Nuys. I also would like to take the time to thank our new Deputy Chief John Sherman. Is he here? Yes. Can we please stand up? Chief Sherman and also Commander George Rodriguez. Is he here? Yes. I just want to commend these two gentlemen for working exceptionally well with my office and my constituents. These are folks that are new to the area, and I want to say that our transition has been pretty smoothly. Right, gentlemen? That's the right answer. Thank you very much. I also want to acknowledge the area captains that are here with us this evening. It also has, we've had some very honest conversations with my constituents and members of my staff, and I also think that they have done an exceptional job in my communities that I represent. I also want to acknowledge those of them that are here. And to my senior lead officers, I can't thank them enough. I think every step of the way they are engaging, especially on the multitude of issues that I have taken on, such as homelessness, human trafficking, our vendor issues. They attend all of my community events, such as Valley Pride that we had this past June, movie nights in the parks, my Van Nuys Arts Festival, which we just concluded a couple of months ago, our health fairs, and our neighborhood watch meetings that they also attend. So if they're here, I want to thank them as well. But the reason I'm here this evening is to really shed some light on the issue that I care very, very deeply about, and that's human trafficking. For those of you who know, I am not, I'm native to this district, but most importantly, I'm not naive when it comes to this issue of prostitution. Having grown up in this community my entire life, I can tell you that I know that the two existing prostitute corridors on Lancashire Boulevard and San Fernando Road, I've always known we've had this issue. What I was alarmed with was the age of these children and the women that usually are the ones who are being trafficked in these areas. The ages range anywhere between 14, 15, 16 years old, any given day of the week at any given time. And what I find very disturbing is that this issue really hadn't come to anyone's real attention in terms of the magnitude of the issue, the fact that we're facing a huge epidemic in this country when it comes to trafficking children, and how it's taken literally a labor of love, not only from my office, but from the department, to come up with a different way to tackle this issue. Advocating for $1 million for the San Fernando Valley Human Trafficking Task Force was not easy. But if it wasn't for the partnership of the men and women in LAPD, we would not be able to change the dialogue and change the dynamics and how we treat the children that we rescue every single day. We don't call them hookers, we don't call them prostitutes, we call them victims, because that's what they are. And we've changed the dynamic in the department so much that we're not going after these kids and arresting them. What we're doing is we're putting away pimps, criminals, and gang members who are trafficking our kids day in and day out. And we're also making sure that the men that solicit these children for sex are also being put away. So we've changed the way we do business in our city when it comes to human trafficking victims. We're rescuing kids off the street and we're putting criminals away. And if it wasn't for this department, none of this would be possible. Along the way, we've also partnered with CSUN and making sure that our urban planning professors spend almost 9 months in these two corridors identifying why these two areas are so conducive to this type of crime. What is it about the landscape in these two communities that make it so interesting and so desirable for some of these criminals to come and do their dirty work in my neighborhoods? So we've put in about $750,000 worth of money to trim our trees, to add additional lighting so that this crime-ridden communities can finally get rid of some of these unattractive situations that go on in our community. But I would not have been doing this if it wasn't possible for a man that I'm very, very proud to call my friend, and that is Lieutenant Mark Evans. If you are here, where are you? So I can see you. Mark? I call him Mark. I know you refer to him as Lieutenant Evans, but he is one of the best guys on the force, along with Sergeant Reese. They also make up the leadership in the San Fernando Valley. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Commissioner Figueroa. And like I said, if it wasn't for the leadership of the San Fernando Valley Human Trafficking Task Force, the work that we do is not attractive. It's very uncomfortable to talk about these issues, but nonetheless, we're making enormous strides in making sure that we put these people away and we can turn back these neighborhoods to the communities that I represent. So again, thank you so much for coming to my district, for coming to the Valley. Valley folks in this are not always necessarily have the time to go downtown and come to your meetings. We're 2 million people strong in the San Fernando Valley, so anytime we can have meetings in the Valley, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll go to item number 1A now, the department's No,
I'm sorry, we have comment cards on.
Oh, it's 2A, I'm sorry.
Number 1. We have 5 comment cards
on the council member?
on the council members' comments.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with Puppet, followed by Herman, Mimi Solstick, Jamie Garcia, and Hamid Khan.
Yes, that's right. So thank you to Nori Martinez. Yeah, let's give her a hand. Yes. She said some very good things about pimps. I've been working to fight pimping in this district for a long time now. We're getting a lot of lights. See all the lights in here? We're getting a lot of tree trimming. Because as you know, pimps hide under trees that aren't properly lighted at night so they can see what their bitches are doing to make sure they get the money. Now, with the trees trimmed and the lights, the cockroaches are shined upon. Drive down. Go down Sherman Way. Go down. Well, no. Don't go down Sherman Way. You might not make it, yes. But go down Van Nuys Boulevard. You'll see a very clean street, all paved. Nuri's been working real hard. Yes, that's right. And the reason why is me. The puppet has been waging the war, and Nuri joined it, yes. So you go down Sepulveda Boulevard. It's different. So tonight, take a trip down Sepulveda Boulevard. But be careful. If you're driving a shiny car, you will be pulled over and asked 2 questions by cops in the district. 1, are you here to buy drugs? And 2, are you here to get your woman? So if you answer no to both, you will be fine. But in the case of some of the staff here, they drink a little bit and they say yes or maybe, then you'll be taken over here to Van Nuys Station and booked on suspected pimping. Yes. And another way, the municipal court building in Van Nuys, Judge Bernard Kamens. He's a good friend of Mr. Spindler's father. He has a diversion program for
Off
first-time offenders, and we thank Nuri Martinez and the judge for participating in
speaker,
this
please.
program. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Harmon.
So, false security. You heard it from our elected official woman. A false security. And why is it happening in Van Nuys? What's the disturbance in Van Nuys? Prostitution of minors, children, KIDS. And I'm not talking about no one's children other than the ones that the pimps solicit in Van Nuys and throughout Los Angeles. So the Dark Knight is well aware of what our councilwoman is speaking about. And we should praise her for attempt to clean out the rodents, kill all the fat rats who take advantage of children. Now, this is not about a cadet program, but this is about a universal problem of soliciting children by pimps, whores, and prostitution. Things haven't changed from the time that I was born, nor will it ever change in your community unless you become proactive and support Nuri Martinez, a fine candidate whose respect is to deter all prostitution, eliminate cadet programs so that 15-year-old kids aren't fucked with.
Off topic. Next speaker, please.
I'm talking about children, sir.
Next speaker.
I'm referring to children, sir.
It's your last warning. I'm asking you to leave the meeting.
Mimi, followed by Jamie Garcia and Ahmed Khan.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Mimi Saltisic. I'm with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. I think it's really important for the community of Van Nuys to know that on October 17th, in the face of overwhelming opposition by the community of Los Angeles, that this body here, this group, the Los Angeles Police Commission.
Sir, you're off topic.
I'm sorry, I'm on topic. You voted to approve the use of drones on October 17th. I don't think it's controversial that the legal system in the U.S. is racist, and you have voted to further
this is not regarding
militarize
the
a
welcome comments
racist
from the
legal
council member.
system. White supremacists,
So we'll
and
go
they
to the
should be
next speaker,
treated
please.
as such.
Next speaker.
Now, I'm sorry. This is not off
Next
topic.
speaker.
This affects this community here, and
Last
this
warning,
community
sir.
needs to know what it is that you did. So take a look
Sir,
at
you
this
can-
group
you can
right
come
here.
back in public comment and say anything you want. This is about Councilmember Martinez.
No, they deserve to hear this now before you start your bullshit.
Mic off, please.
You dig? So, this group right here voted to approve
Sir,
the use of
your time is
drones,
up.
further militarizing a
Last
white
warning, I'm gonna ask
supremacist
you to
law
leave the
enforcement
meeting. If
system.
you don't, leave the meeting, then we're going to leave the meeting.
No, I said what I got to say. You're shameful. Take a peek at this bunch here. This is one shameful bunch, one sorry bunch.
Jamie Garcia.
Go ahead. Welcome.
My name's Jamie. I'm with the Stop LAPD Spine Coalition. I'm also a registered nurse in the community of Boyle Heights. So I'm very happy to be here in Van Nuys because I know that often on Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning, it's very inconvenient for folks in the community, especially in Van Nuys, to be here and to know what's going on in the police commission. And as you can see, just from this episode right now, you can see how we're censored as a community and not able to welcome ourselves into this space and actually talk about what this body does. So as the speaker was talking before, against overwhelming opposition, this body approved the use of drones in our community. So what else has this
come back
body
during
done?
public
This
comment and
body
we'll listen, but
continues to
this is a-
censor the community right now. We are speaking to the city council woman who
gonna
needs
say
to
this out of respect
understand
to all the community
how
members here.
you operate
You need
and how
to be
you operate
on
in a way of
topic.
censoring the community
about
from being unable to let other people know
Councilmember
how
Nuri
how you
Martinez.
how you operate.
go on topic,
So
or
again,
do you
you
want
are
me to
doing
end
the
it?
same thing, just like you do with bias policing. When there's been over 3,000 complaints
last
about bias
warning.
policing, and this body has allowed reports to go by with zero sustained,
Next
has not
speaker.
investigated, has not done anything
speaker,
to support the community. Again, negates the community. Just like you've also done with the sexual assault that Robert King did on the cadet. So again, we
topic,
asked you, the
not on
community
topic.
came to you
We're trying to
and
respect
asked you
the community,
to investigate. We
people
asked you to find
from
out
the
if there were
community
other
can
people.
listen to
And
the
again, you
meeting.
continue to censor. You continue to not
I'm
listen
gonna
to what we want to say.
Give you the last warning, then
It
I'm
could
going to
be-
ask you to leave the meeting.
It could be as easy
Comment
as
time.
you being quiet and letting the community speak, but you choose not to.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hamid Khan, that is our final speaker on this agenda item.
Okay.
And yes, I'm also with the Stop LAPD Spine Coalition. So let's talk about Nuri Martinez. She's right here. So the council member comes and gives a welcome to this community, not a mention that the captain from Van Nuys Station has sued the LAPD for misclassification of crime reports. Isn't that captain from the LAPD a part of this community? Apparently not from Nuri Martinez. Nuri Martinez comes up here and speaks about welcoming all these things, not a mention.
We can't hear you
that-
because you're not speaking into the
because
microphone.
Here, I'll pull this mic and I'll speak to the community as well because you are useless. You guys are a rubber stamp body, so you know that's what it is. This is what a shock absorber for the system looks like. Nuri
Off
Martinez
topic,
is
sir?
a member of the Public Safety Committee. She comes here and does this welcome, not a mention that what other folks were speaking about, because they're supposed to be the oversight body in the city, that their own surveys showed
Out of
that
respect
out of
to the community members that have come here, I would like to ask
only
you to go
5%
on topic.
said good, okay on the drones. They still passed it. Nuri Martinez is absent. You are completely absent. We've been bringing this issue to the Public Safety Committee. We've been bringing this thing that how militarized the LAPD is. We've been bringing this to you that how massive architectural surveillance has been created by this
your last
body.
warning,
But
sir, to
then-
get on
wait a minute,
topic
I'm
out of
speaking to the
respect
council
for the
member. Are
community.
you trying to intervene then? Are you trying to silence everything?
No,
like
I
what
just
is off
want you to
topic?
stay on topic
What
out
is
of
off
respect
topic?
to the,
What
to
is
the
off
real
topic?
community that's
What
here.
is off topic? I mean, I'm speaking about, you said to speak about the council member. What is off topic over here? I'm speaking about the council member, about her welcome. What was that welcome about? Did that welcome even include the impact on this community that the LAPD is having? Did that welcome even include that the impact the LAPD is going to have with hotspot policing and predictive policing? Did she even mention what the LAPD is going to have its impact with the SAR program? Did she even mention what the LAPD is going to have an impact on the community of Van Nuys through trapwire technology, through stingray technology? You tell me. You're sitting over there as the president of the commission. You lie to the people. You know when these people, when
Okay,
the
time's
officers
up.
broke the antennas.
go to,
so that's what Nuri Martinez
Item
is
number 2A, please.
Number 2 on the agenda, department's verbal presentation and discussion relative to crime trends and community engagement and operations Valley Bureau. We have Deputy Chief John Sherman.
Thank you, gentlemen. Stay on topic, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Honorable Board. My name is Deputy Chief John Sherman. I'm the Commanding Officer of Operations Valley Bureau. With me is my partner, Commander George Rodriguez. and Lieutenant Mark Evans, who is the officer in charge of our Human Trafficking Task Force in the San Fernando Valley. Welcome to the San Fernando Valley and to Valley Bureau. This is 226 square miles of essentially everything north of Mulholland in the city of Los Angeles. We police about 3,000 street miles with about 1.5 million people. We in Valley Bureau, we have about 1,911 police officers and 134 civilians that provide the police services here in the Valley. There are 8 commands in the San Fernando Valley. I'd like to introduce the captains, Mr. President, if I could, please.
Sure.
We have Captain Lillian Carranza, who's the commanding officer of Van Nuys area. We have Captain Don Graham, the commanding officer of North Hollywood area. Captain Ernie Eskridge, the commanding officer of Foothill area. Captain Brian Liam, the commanding officer of Devonshire area. Captain Paul Vernon, the patrol commanding officer at Topanga. Captain Beverly Lewis, the area commanding officer of West Valley. Captain Rob Marino, the area commanding officer of Mission. Also here tonight is Captain Andy Nyman, who's the traffic division commanding officer for Valley Traffic.
I think I've gotten tickets from every one of those folks you just introduced.
You have an exceptional crew of commanding officers here in the San Fernando Valley. I'm pleased to work with each and every one of them. Just to give you a very brief crime overview, and then I'm going to have Commander Rodriguez talk a little bit about our community mobilization and our community outreach. As you're well aware, over the last couple decades, crime has gone down significantly, both in the San Fernando Valley as well as the city of Los Angeles. Over the last couple years, in 2015 and 16, we did see crime starting to trend up. Fortunately, in this year, 2017, the San Fernando Valley is seeing a leveling off of crime in the valley. Our violent crime is down about 3%, and this year we have 11 fewer homicides than we had last year. Last year at this time we had 55 homicides. This year we've only had 44 homicides to date. That's too many, but it is a significant decrease, and it's 11 lives that were not lost. Our gang crime over the last number of years has continued to go down, and as you are well aware of, our one nemesis in the San Fernando Valley is property crime. That is an area that we continue to struggle with. We've had a slight increase in the area of burglaries, and we have had increases in the auto-related crimes of burglary and theft from motor vehicle and grand theft auto. We are doing a number of community outreach efforts to try to address that. We also are challenged in the valley with a significant homeless and transient problem, as with the other parts of the city of Los Angeles. We have a HOPE team deployed here, and we're in the process of having all of our senior lead officers work with the HOPE team to get that training and that education to expose them to some of the relationships and the options that we have in working with LASA and LA STAN and some of the other organizations that help us with addressing the homeless and the transient problem. We have, unfortunately, 75 traffic fatalities to date in the valley. I mentioned the 3,000 street miles, a very large area, wide streets and high traffic. We are addressing that problem. We have an increased enforcement and traffic enforcement so far year to date here in the valley from our traffic enforcement efforts in Valley Traffic, and are also working, as we have always, in a strong educational campaign. What I'd like to do now is ask Commander Rodriguez to speak a little bit about some of our community outreach efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So as the chief stated, in order for us to continue to decrease crime in the valley, we obviously have to engage our community and make sure that we get them involved in the whole crime-solving process. And one of the ways we do that is by, first of all, doing the community police academies. Education is a big part of the efforts that we have out there. And we're also leveraging our social media websites, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, Crime Busters, whatever the mode or medium is out there, so in order we can let our community know what's going on, what are the trends, and how they can better harden those targets and prevent themselves from not becoming a victim of a crime. In addition to our community police academies and our media outreach, we're also doing a lot of the community outreach through immigration forums by providing education and information to our community members. and dispelling some of the mistrust or misinformation that could be out there as it specifically relates to the LAPD and our role that we play in the whole immigration process. To date, we've done 108 immigration forums, and we have 9 more planned throughout the rest of the year. In addition to the community outreach, we obviously engage a lot in our youth. We do have a lot of investment in our youth and our youth programs. Right now, we have over 1,000 kids enrolled in all of our youth programs, which they come and participate, and they get to experience situations where they wouldn't have an opportunity otherwise. So in addition to everything else that we're doing from the enforcement piece, we're doing a lot of the prevention and the outreach to make sure that we maintain our public trust, that our community is fully up to date and aware of what are the trends in the valley.
And with that, sir, that concludes our report on item number 2A. And I can transition to 2B if you'd like.
Well, I'd like you to introduce, as a group possibly, the CPAB members that have come this evening, and also you have Jeopardy members and other volunteers that are community members that are out
I hope
supporting what we do.
I hope I don't have to know their names.
No.
If
No, just to stand.
If we could have the San Fernando Valley CPAB members and community volunteers, please stand.
Thank you for all you do. And you have some Jeopardy folks as well? Oh, they did stand already? Okay, good. Okay, I think, City Attorney, do we need to take comments on A before we go to B, or can we transition to B?
Well, there's no action, so you can take the next comment.
Okay. So we can go to B?
B, as long as you allow comment on A at some point.
Okay.
There's no
So
action.
we'll take B, and then we'll take comments on 2A.
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
And Councilmember Martinez already did a very nice introduction of Lieutenant Evans. The Human Trafficking Task Force, under the leadership and the assistance of the Councilwoman, started in October 2015. And since the inception, Lieutenant Evans has been the officer in charge of that unit. I've asked him to come tonight and give you a brief overview of that task force.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to address you regarding this topic. The Human Trafficking Task Force had a mission to reduce the blight associated with prostitution and human trafficking that has plagued the Sepulveda and Lancashire corridors for in excess of 40 years. I haven't been around that long, but that's the rumor I have, I understand. And we identified 3 primary target areas that we focus on, and those areas are on Sepulveda Boulevard between Roscoe and Nordhoff, Sepulveda Boulevard between Victory and Saticoy, and also on Lancashire Boulevard between San Fernando Road and the 5 Freeway. We identified 3 ways to try to achieve improvement regarding the blight associated with the activity there, and we identified environmental engineering, public education, and improved law enforcement. The Councilwoman, Nuri Martinez, already addressed much of the environmental engineering by making changes to lighting and improving tree trimming and those things. But also we've got many members of the community on board who are making improvements to their own properties, and they're engaged. Second, the public education component. The Human Trafficking Task Force has strengthened our community partnerships, and really much of that was done by establishing a way to communicate via email, which we identified as 647 tips at lapd.online. And that empowered the community to take back their neighborhoods and actually work with the police so that we could identify their problems and be more responsive and timely. And then also when we take action, we respond back to them, sometimes in person, sometimes via phone, and we tell them what we did, the action we took, and the results. And that's been a great partnership that's been strengthened there. I think we have a lot of community support as a result of that. Last, we looked at how could we improve law enforcement, and Chief Green beat it into me that we can't arrest our way out of this problem. So we had to look at other dynamics. And some of those things are that we started to focus on the Johns. And we used to arrest girls probably 30-to-1 ratio, and I'm happy to say that we flip-flopped that, and now we're arresting Johns probably 20-to-1 ratio. And that's a big focus, because we're trying to change the culture of why are we even coming to this area, this corridor, to plague and burden our citizens and community members there. So that's been our focus. And many of these traffickers, they're violent gang members with prolific criminal histories. We've been able to provide as close to 24/7 coverage as possible on the corridors, which has been significant improvement for the type of services provided in the past. And we've been able to partner with our Detective Support and Vice Division, Journey Out. We've referred 263 women to Journey Out for services, support for testifying in court, and housing arrangements and travel. Some of the other achievements that have happened is we've issued traffic citations focusing on Johns as much as possible. Since the launch of this task force, we've issued 7,467 traffic citations, 263 referrals to Journey Out. We've rescued 21 individuals from the grips of human traffickers. 17 of those were juveniles, the youngest being 14 years old. We have arrested 53 pimps and traffickers. We have a 93% filing rate with a 100% conviction rate. We've arrested 1,055 Johns and a grand total arrests of 1,648. And something that I'm proud of is we've met with 364 community members and helped them become more engaged in taking back their community. We received many. Thank you. In conclusion, we received many accolades, and we're grateful for that, but I think nothing could be said more for the great work that the 8 officers assigned to our unit has done. I think it speaks high volumes to them, and I'm grateful for all the support that we have with Nuri and the chief and the commander and many of our partners. And I hope that moving forward, we keep our foot on the gas and keep moving forward successfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay,
Sorry
before we,
to interrupt. Can we please let the record reflect that Commissioner McLean Hill is now present?
sure. Okay. And before we continue, I'd like to introduce the commissioners and introduce some other people that are sitting up here for your benefit. We'll start with our Inspector General. Django, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and tell us about your cool website and app and all that kind of stuff?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Yeah, my name's Django Sibley. I'm the Interim Inspector General. Been with the Inspector General's office for the last 14 or so years. The job of the Inspector General's office is to, on behalf of the Board of Police Commissioners, inspect and report upon various aspects of the operations of the Los Angeles Police Department. That's what we do. You can find out about our office on our website. If you Google OIG LAPD, you'll find our website. We also have an app that I encourage you to download onto your smartphone. If you look for OIG LAPD on the App Store, you can find that app, and you can find out all kinds of information on there about the police department, about the police commission, about services in your local district, about your council members, so on and so forth. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. As you can tell, our Inspector General was born and raised and grew up in New York, in Brooklyn. So welcome to the West Coast, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Our city attorney, Carlos, sir. Tell a little bit about your background and your responsibility here with the Los Angeles Police Department and Police Commission.
Sure. My name is Carlos De La Guerra. I'm an assistant city attorney. I've been with the city attorney's office for 17 years, and the last 12 years I've been the head of the Police General Counsel Division, which advises the police department and now includes the fire department as well. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tefank?
Richard Tefank, I'm the Executive Director for the Board of Police Commissioners. I've been with the Commission for almost 14 years. As their Chief Executive Officer, I support the Commission, ensure our staff prepares the Commission, work with the Department and various other city departments, council offices, and mayor's office, city administrative officer, and the Chief Legislative Analyst.
And a little bit about your background in law enforcement, sir?
I retired after 33 years in law enforcement. In 2001, I worked for the State Attorney General at the time, Bill Lockyer, for about a year and a half before I came to work for the Board of Police Commissioners.
Chief of Police in?
I was Chief of Police in 2 cities, the city of Pomona for 3.5 years and the city of Buena Park in Orange County for 11.5 years.
Okay. And let me introduce your Los Angeles Police Commissioners, starting with Commissioner McLean Hill.
Am I to speak?
Please. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the
Well,
police
this is a new
commission.
feature. First off, I can't do this because I'm so low I can't see.
Yeah,
This is a new feature of commission meetings, and this is really very nice to everyone in the audience. I have been on the Board of Police Commissioners for a little over a year, and like all of the other commissioners, I am a proud appointee of our mayor, Eric Garcetti. I do want to say, as the maker of the motion, that that caused the commission to resume our meetings out in community venues. I want to apologize for being late, got stuck in traffic, but I am so excited to see so many people at this meeting, and so pleased
All the
that
traffic cops are here, or you would have got a ticket.
no, just so pleased to see so many people here, and encourage you to not only come out to meetings, but to feel free to stay engaged with both the department and the commission in a really robust way. So thank you all.
Commissioner, a
for
little
being
bit about your background. Go ahead.
Can I stand up? Okay, great. Much better. I am born and raised in the city of Los Angeles. I'm about to celebrate my 60th birthday on Friday, so I'm really excited about
happy
that.
birthday.
UCLA graduate, double, both undergraduate and law school, and the proud parent of 2 children. Is that good enough?
Not enough. For now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Goldsmith.
Good evening, Shane Goldsmith. Also have been on the commission for just over a year, or just about a year. I'm really happy to be here. Glad to see us doing these meetings out in the community, and glad to see so many of you here, and look forward to hearing from you tonight. And thank you for all the members of the department who've come out to talk to us about this region of our amazing city. I lead a foundation in Los Angeles. We do a lot of work with young people, with the goal of keeping them out of the criminal justice system and providing alternatives and second chances if they do get involved in the criminal justice system, as well as focusing on homelessness and environmental justice and other issues that are impacting Angelinos. And I'm really proud to be on the commission, and glad to be here with all of you tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Figueroa Villa.
Yes, sir.
Senior commissioner,
I
along
was
with
going
me,
to
we're
say
tied.
that. Don't take my
Okay,
speech.
sorry.
My name is Sandra Figueroa Villa, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in South LA, and I ended up graduating from Roosevelt High School in Boyle Heights. I went on to Cal State LA, but now I was appointed in 2013 by Mayor Eric Garcetti, and I was just reappointed this year. So yes, Mr. Soboroff and I are senior members of this commission. And we're learning, for me, I learn something every day. I've been here a long time, it feels like, but I don't know everything. And especially in this district with Councilmember Nuri, I was here for one of her meetings, and this was one of her passions, and I'm so happy to see that we are really tackling this issue of human trafficking and really turning it around and really focusing on the Johns and really helping our kids get into a program now. So thank you, Nuri. You know, I'm really proud of the work that you've been doing, and we do other things together. So thank you for that. I run a nonprofit, Children, Youth, and Family Services Agency. I've been there for 40 years. I'm thinking of transitioning and retiring someday. My very supportive husband is in the audience. He drove me here today, so Jesse's back there somewhere. Without him, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay and be a senior member of this commission. So thank you for that. Thank you.
I'm Steve Soboroff. I'm a Valley boy. I went to Taft High School out here. I was on the track team and did really lousy against Van Nuys High, Grant and all the schools. No, I went to Taft. Robert Redford went to Van Nuys, but I went to Taft. Also went to Valley College for a semester and know and love the Valley and the importance of the Valley. I'm also very familiar with a lot of the service providers in the San Fernando Valley that do their best to keep kids from getting into the system where we have to interact with them. And I'm proud of LAPD since the consent decree, since it's emerged from the consent decree, because we've gone from being a militaristic operation to being a community policing operation, and a service provider. There are a number of programs that many of the people in this audience work hard for, to provide services to underserved and people in the San Fernando Valley, so they can have opportunities not to engage, not to break the rules and have us get involved with the system. So happy to be out here in the Valley. I miss Bob's Big Boy on Van Nuys Boulevard and all the kind of a lot of memories out here, and appreciate all that you're doing. So let's move on. Let's take the comments now on items 2A and 2B.
We have 6 comment cards on item 2A, starting with Herman, followed by Dan, Puppet, and Lori Armstrong.
Okay. And how many do you have on B?
We have 4 on B.
Okay.
Herman?
Okay, we're on 2A, which is the department's verbal presentation and discussion relative to crime trends and community engagement.
Well,
Mr.
definitely
Herman?
there's no community engagement when it comes to trafficking. You heard the report from these 3 gentlemen. They're talking about how they fought this crime on trafficking.
Trafficking is 2B.
I'm talking about the engagement of community operations in the Valley Bureau, sir.
Okay.
How crime, how Miss Martinez brought up about her excellent aspiration to cope and deal with all this crime. But it's me that you're looking for the answer. We need to go back to the consent decree, Mr. Durango, Django, Sibley, Salbley. Why do I say that? Because it gives us the ambiguous, vague constitutional right to fight crime. Not only in the white-collar area of town, but throughout the state of California. Los Angeles is a haven for the engagement of crime. And we still have false security based on all the reports, based on all the media, and not to forget Trump, Trump, Trump. So as long as we're still in America, we demand you take an action to suppress crime, bring crime to an end in our communities, stop the robberies, stop the burglaries, and stop the injustice of crime. For God's sake, Soboroff, you violate the Brown Act. That's a crime. 42 U.S.C. 1983 prohibits discrimination, along with 42 U.S.C. 12101.
Next speaker, please.
Dan?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Soboroff. Commissioners and commanders, my name is Daniel Gus. I'm a contributor to City Watch LA. Stories that I've written about corruption in the city of Los Angeles for identification purposes only have been picked up by David Zonizer of The Times, Hillel Aron at The Weekly, and KCBS. And last year, I once guest hosted the KFI Sunday Morning News. Over the past year, within hours of my exposing an LA City Council member as a bigamist, the LAPD threatened to arrest me repeatedly if I did not turn in my press pass.
Sir, this is about,
Please
not
give me-
about you, it's about the
For
department's verbal
identification
presentation.
purposes only, sir, let me make my point in my own way.
Halfway done,
I'm
dude.
about to sue the Los Angeles Police Department for violating my civil rights. So in that context, Mr. Soboroff, I have had 6 articles out about the LAPD refusing to even take a report at burglaries. 6 burglaries at a Sherman Oaks condo at the corner of Tyrone and Huston. You won't even take a report, let alone show up. Going back to March, I have a new article in City Watch LA out this morning questioning, why does Yasiel Puig of the Dodgers, who's been the victim of 3 burglaries, get immediate same-day response from the LAPD, while 108 condo units here in Sherman Oaks can't even get the LAPD to take a response, to take a report? Why does Yasiel Puig get treated any differently than anybody else in Los Angeles? Now, I know Mr. Rubenstein sent me a letter threatening to arrest me when I expose corruption. I want to applaud Captain Carranza for having the guts to stand up to you, having the guts to stand up to your intimidation. And I hope she ends up getting $1 million. But if you're going to protect Yasiel Puig's property, you need to protect everybody else's property, whether or not Mr. Soboroff likes my expressing myself in my own way. Thank you.
Puppet, followed by Lori Armstrong, Tiffany Guerra, and Jed Perriott.
So yes, we all communicate in our own fucking way, yes. So thank you to Ms. Carranza, Captain, for suing the city and the department for underreporting crimes.
You're off topic, Puppet. This is
Well,
about the
it's for
department's
crime
verbal
trends
presentation.
and community engagement. So the crime trends are the number and type of crime. That's how we measure crime trends. And they're phony and bullshit. So that's the reason why we here are here to protest about the way your community engagement is going. Your community engagement is total shit. We don't like your community engagement. We want to know the real numbers. How many burglaries and what's the statistic crime trend for 2017? For the last fiscal year, July 1st, 2016 to July 1st, 2017. My statistics show, he uses the computer. It shows it's up 18.5% on robberies, forcible robberies in this district, up to almost 18%. Crime in car robberies up 30%. Mail theft up 40%. Yet Mr. Stupid Ass Beck goes downtown and says it's down 5%. Ms. Carranza says it's up. You say it's down. And then she tries to get her promotion to commander, and it's put on hold for a background investigation for 3 years. Why? How come puppets know these things? You know why? Because the internal operations downtown is like a bunch of Swiss cheese. Holes everywhere. Leaks everywhere. Everybody here is leaking shit to the FBI. Keep up the leaks, dumbass Soboroff.
Next
Thank
speaker.
Lori Armstrong.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm a homeowner in Tarzana South. I've been a homeowner for 6.5 years there. And for the first 5 years, there were no issues, but in the last year, we've experienced 1 burglary in April and 2 attempts, 1 in September and 1 last week. The 1 last week, I was home with my children. I'm on social media groups for my neighborhood watch. My home is gated, alarmed with cameras and floodlights, but it's a full-time job keeping would-be burglars away. I have anxiety all the time, and my kids have anxiety as well, waiting for the bad guys to show up. Police have responded to our calls, but there's only so much they can do without adequate resources. As a taxpayer, I don't feel our neighborhood is receiving adequate resources to combat these burglaries. I'm not the only person in my neighborhood who's experienced multiple burglaries this year. There's also been the theft from cars and vagrants trespassing. So although the stats say that crime is down, it feels very up for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our last 2 cards on 2A are Tiffany Guerra and Jed Perriott.
So on the topic of crime trends, we heard this week how the LAPD has been underreporting crime in a number of divisions that were audited by Captain Lillian Carranza. And this isn't anything new. The Inspector General's own office has been documenting the underreporting of crimes from 2008 to 2014. So this has been established in the past. Steve Soboroff, you talk about how millions of Angelinos trust and respect LAPD, and that's why you approved the drone program. Drones, which are a militarized weapon of war, by the way. But like we hear with these crime reports, time and time again, we hear how the LAPD is altering, falsifying, or withholding information in ways that have a real impact on people's lives. Drops of about 10% in crime stats, which is what the captain is alleging is going underreported, have been used to justify such policing tactics as intrusive daily helicopter patrols as a preventative measure, and the LASER program, which uses racist reporting to put folks on a list of most wanted individuals who are then tracked and stalked by LAPD. So how seriously does this board take it when the LAPD and the chief knowingly give out false information? This has happened time and time again. Yet 4 out of 5 of you board members either helped write a policy for drones that the majority of the public does not want, or you voted in favor of it, even though the community was saying no, strongly, repeatedly saying no. In the face of less than 7% approval for drones, you all voted to give drones to SWAT, again, a weapon of war. Then we continue to hear from commissioners like Shane Goldsmith about how community policing is a partnership and how both sides have to be willing to make it work. But what do you do when that partnership becomes an abusive relationship? What do you do? What do you do then, Shane? Do you keep giving resources and accolades to the abuser? Do you legitimize their tactics by actually creating policies that allow them to expand their reach? The reason we say this board is a failed body is because the LAPD uses you to pretend oversight exists, and we consistently see you vote on programs you don't even understand because Chief Beck tells you to.
Thank you for your opinions. Next speaker.
Jed Perriott.
Good evening, Jed Perriott with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition and the Democratic Socialists of America. For anyone who has not seen the Police Commission before, this is a body of millionaires that are only looking out for the wealthy. Yes, it is. Someone's laughing at me. These are all millionaires who care nothing about the community. They care nothing about the community because we all said loud and clear we did not want drones. No one wanted drones. And Steve Soboroff had the nerve to say, well, you know what? You all don't trust the police with drones, but I trust them. I trust them. So they're not looking out for the community. Let's just get that straight. And so let's also talk about reducing crime. You want to reduce crime? How about reducing the budget, the 54% of our city budget that goes to the LAPD, and reinvest in community solutions like mental health treatment, reentry programs, education? And let's talk about, being that we're in the Valley, and I'm from the Valley, by the way, I'm from Sherman Oaks, let's talk about the homeless crisis we're in and these HOPE teams that everyone is such a big fan of. Oh, you know, sensitivity trainings, the police and LAHSA and social workers, and it's this great outreach program, right? I monitored a HOPE outreach sweep 2 weeks ago in Echo Park. It consisted of 8 police officers, 4 sanitation workers, and 0 social workers. 0 social workers. Throwing a woman's belongings out. She was frantically trying to find her bras and her cell phone, and the officer said, "Ma'am, you need to get away right now or I'm going to detain you for impeding an investigation." What kind of language is that? Is that sensitivity to you? So these HOPE teams are out there, and they, by the way, in that same sweep, they threw out a man's medication, and he is now, I talked to him the next day, he said he's now going to have to resort to using heroin for painkillers because he doesn't have health care. So if anyone here is interested, I have here Know Your Rights flyers for the homeless that you can all pass out. Come up to me and get these and arm the homeless with knowledge because these police officers are breaking the law when it comes to their homeless outreach. They are breaking the law.
Speaker, please.
We have 4 cards on item 2B, starting with Herman, followed by Dan, Puppet, and DA. Herman?
Well, you see, relative to current efforts to prevent the impact of trafficking in Opposition Valley, you see, you first have to understand the whole scenario of the prevailing problems here, folks. On one side of the team, we have women who don't speak out in opposition, but yet we got the yes men, the 3, 1 by T. Frank, 2 by Soboroff, and 1 by Beck. It's not a triad. No, I'm the puppet master. You see, verbal presentation and discussion to the current status of efforts to prevent the impact of human trafficking. See, as long as there's men who decide to sleep with children, there will always be trafficking. As long as there's transgender, like the gentleman behind me screaming out, there will always be trafficking. So you see, as long as we continue to be barking little bitches, like back there in the crowd, you can't complicate the situation any worse. So as long as there's HHH in regards to trafficking, as long as our children that are minors who are living on the street, homeless, being used as trafficking vehicles for both men and women, not to mention cadets, but the whole operation of the Valley is really fucked up.
Dan?
Commissioners, Commanders, Daniel Gus. I contribute to City Watch LA for identification purposes only. Stories that I've broken in the past year have been picked up by David Zonizer at the LA Times, by Hillel Aron at the LA Weekly, by KCBS, and I guest hosted the KFI Sunday Morning News last year. I have repeatedly brought to Ms. Martinez's attention an area for child prostitution that she did not mention in the Valley. On Sepulveda, between Burbank and Victory, what more do you need than to see 13 or 14-year-old girls walking around in bikinis and lingerie at 10:30 at night? Why wasn't that mentioned in Ms. Martinez's presentation? Also, the on-ramps and the off-ramps of Burbank Boulevard and the 405 are dens for transporting children. Ms. Martinez was told about that because I questioned her about that and she wouldn't respond. Furthermore, what about all of the prostitution activity at Burbank and Sepulveda as it pertains to the Sepulveda Basin? I know that it's state property and part of that area. But there's teenage kids walking around in lingerie and bikinis at 10:30 at night. Ms. Martinez knows about that, but it was oddly not stated in her presentation to you. I'm concerned that you are missing a big area for child prostitution, and pay attention to these 50 and 60-year-old tiny single-level motels in that area, these really run-down motels and flop houses. That's where they're conducting business. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Puppet and DA will be our final comment card.
Yeah, so as you see the human trafficking, we have a song for the district, and it goes like this.
Human trafficking, yes.
Thank you. So what happens? Last year we discovered something terrible about Nuri. She was allowing the support. Yes, no. She was in support of dance clubs opening up before your police permit review panel. 4 different projects. And CD6 was sitting there saying, yes, we need more strip clubs. Then my friend started to go to that panel. Nuri then turned a 180 and she said, no, I'm against it. So the truth about Nuri is she's running for mayor. Yes, that's right. Yes. So she's here tonight to begin her run, the Nuri Martinez for mayor. Yes, she's going to be our next mayor. Yes.
Off topic.
And so she uses you, the people with your pretty uniforms and badges, to talk about impact of human trafficking. You know on Sepulveda Boulevard, every hotel, motel, you know every John and every pimp. But the problem is you need clients. The women are clients, the Johns are clients, so you can keep the court rolling with more fines, fees, and business. Because prostitution is a major, major business for funding. Federal matching funds, state matching funds. Get rid of the bitches, get rid of the snitches, get rid of the switches to the money levers. You're all pigs.
Our final comment card on 2B is DA.
Whoever's speaking now, will you stand up for a second, please? Whoever's disrupting the meeting, will you stand up? You continually, I can't see who it is. So can somebody point the person out to me?
Try to talk to the people here. Greetings, my name is DA. I'm a local Rastafarian. Stop LAPD spying, Black Lives Matter. I am Heather Heyer. Charlie Beck has claimed at the commission and in LA Times propaganda that LAPD is against federal immigration raids, but it has a history of pretending
sir.
that and then helping immigration raids to happen. Activists, hola mis amigos. Let's please be careful of police pretending to have concern for human smuggling or other crimes, but then actually trying to create a hidden wall of more intense deportation under Donald Trump using false accusations. Hidden agendas are what the electronic secret police state is about. I know because although LAPD pretends transparency by having this commission, the police state stole $1,500 from my Uber driver account last week to retaliate against me speaking against police brutality at the police commission. That was confirmed by a police agent last week. Some say, okay, you're a dreadlock black radical. Maybe that's why. But how long until money is stolen from the bank accounts of other black activists or Latino activists or Jewish activists or feminist activists?
Okay, your time's up.
Or against the feminist activists speaking against police brutality against blacks and Latinos. Regardless of the demographics involved, police electronically stealing citizens' money from their bank account is a slippery slope. But then that's what racists who propped up Donald Trump into power had in mind, slipping the society into tyranny, police as government. 9/11 was a U.S. federal government allowing foreign terrorists to murder 3,000 people in order to scare the American public into accepting the electronic secret police state. Racists in Homeland Security and NSA created a political militia of ignorant citizen police state agents who became the Tea Party movement and then became Trump supporters, working at corporations like Uber, Chase Bank, and Hertz Rental Car Company are individual racists who the police contact to help them do their dirty work like steal $1,500 from a customer's account. Chase Bank, Uber, and Hertz Rent-A-Car, the police will compromise your credibility for future customers if you let them. All demographics of economic power.
You can escort this gentleman out. We've given him plenty of warning. This is what he wanted. Next.
We're back to item 3, consent agenda items.
No, we're going to hold those until after the public comment. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to item 4, please.
Item 4 on the agenda, report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Good morning, Commission. And I want to thank the
Chief.
I'm going to put my glasses on. I can't read it from here.
I ask you to stop disturbing the meeting. Thank you. Out of respect for the community members that are really here to come to the meeting, I'm going to ask you to sit down or leave the meeting. Last warning.
Thank you, Commissioner. You know, rather than do my regular comments, what I would like to do today is to thank the Valley Commands for their excellent work. I would like to thank the people that have supported the Valley Commands, the CPAPs.
Hold on, Chief. Hold on. Sir, the man that's standing, this is your last warning. If you disrupt the meeting, there are a lot of people here that came to this meeting to listen to the meeting. And if you disrupt them once more, I'm going to ask you to leave.
So I wanted to thank the Valley Command and all their supporters, the community supporters that came out here. I apologize for the disruptions of the meeting. I know it's difficult. I know that it's counterintuitive to a body that represents the people, that it gets interrupted. That was the same guy.
I'm going to ask Sergeant at Arms, would you please escort that gentleman out of the meeting? I've given him plenty of warnings.
So, in continuing my thanks and my apologies for the disruptions in the meeting. This is unfortunately what this commission deals with on a weekly basis. And the irony is that this commission model is the envy of U.S. policing, to have an oversight body that is appointed, that has direct control of the police department like this commission does, is what everybody wants, and unfortunately it gets disrupted in this fashion. But the system, the oversight, the creation of the body was absolutely state of the art when it was done decades ago, and it continues to be.
It's your last warrant. I don't know who that is, but
so
it's your last warning.
So continuing, I want to thank those of you that came. A lot of discussion about crime statistics. I think that it's important to recognize that the Los Angeles Police Department leads the nation in the way that it examines its crime statistics. We have over 15 detectives that spend their full time making sure that statistics are as accurate as they possibly can be. You'll see today I did a press conference on this exact thing before the meeting, and it was covered in much more detail, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. But suffice it to say that we take a difficult system and make it work at least as well as anybody else in the nation.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm going to ask you to, okay. Chief?
So, continuing, what I would like to highlight is that the categories of violent crime that we concentrate on the most in the city are people shot. We've had 100 less people shot than last year, and homicides, and we've had 20 fewer homicides in the city of Los Angeles than last year. So those are really important statistics. It shows the good work of the Los Angeles Police Department and the hard work of the men and women that work with us in the community. And believe me, that's why I spent so much time today in the media talking about crime statistics, is because the trust of the community is paramount, and the trust of the community is what we need in order to do our job. So, having said that, I'll close with this. The Los Angeles Police Department is a living organism. It thrives when people become police officers to replace those that retire. And one of the things that this commission has been very supportive of, and that the department has worked very hard on, is keeping the hiring pipeline open, especially to young people from diverse communities that are interested in law enforcement. So my takeaway and my ask to the folks that are here is that if you know somebody that you think would make a good Los Angeles police officer, please, if you know somebody who would be a good Los Angeles police officer, please direct them our way. Any of the command staff here can give you a card. Any of the police officers here can help you do this. there is nothing more important than having the right people being police officers. And the best people come from people that are involved with the department, and many of you are. So that would be my ask, and with that, I'll give it back to the Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. I think I'm gonna go to, we'll do public
We have 8 public comment cards on the chief's report.
and how many public comments on the regular public comment?
Right now, we have 38.
We have 38? Okay, so let's put them all together and we'll start with the chiefs.
Okay. For the chief's report, we have Herman, followed by Red Chief Hunt, followed by Dan and Puppet.
I'd like to bring to your attention for additional reports on crimes and statistics. In my hand, I have LACV 1708064 AG/E1. Michael Hunt, plaintiff versus Chief Charlie L. Beck and Matthew M. Johnson. I'm here to serve you, sir. In addition to all the crimes against humanity, in all respects to people who have been injured by police brutality, violations of 42 USC, their civil liberty rights, California Constitution. Why does this continue in America? Why can't we all just get along? Mr. Selby, Mr. Attorney, quiet as a mouse. Am I off topic? Here's the packet for Chief Charles Beck and Matthew. Please take it. You've been served.
Next speaker?
Red Chief Hunt, followed by Dan and Puppet.
That right there is a federal lawsuit. It's no longer a game. Soberov, you're next. If you think I'm playing, my team consists of Rhodey, a lot more other attorneys that will be joining me. Chief, it's time for you to do depositions and things like that. It's a crime to violate the Brown Act. Soberov, it's a crime. 2 minutes. They can talk about whatever they want to talk about. Dean Ferguson said it in conference. If you think I'm playing, you're going to be walking over to the federal courthouse like Lee Baca. It's not a joke no more. It's a number. It's a case filed. City attorney, you guys already lost 3 to me. Make it 4-0.
Dan, followed by Puppet.
Commissioners, Daniel Gus. I contribute to City Watch LA for identification purposes only. Articles that I broke this year on corruption in the city of Los Angeles were picked up by David Zahniser of the LA Times, Hillel Aron at the LA Weekly, KCBS, and last year I once guest hosted the KFI Sunday Morning News. Why do you think these people deride you? Because you ignore what they're saying because maybe they look a little different. Maybe they smell a little different. Maybe you don't like their message. But there's a 50-year history where that goes back further. Your former headquarters, people are fighting to preserve, it's named after Chief Parker. How about that? What message does trying to preserve the legacy of Chief Parker have to say? What about the Watts riots, the Rodney King riots, Lakeisha Wilson, and all of the other people? In my own endeavors, when I exposed an LA City Council member, Curran Price, as a bigamist, fraud, perjurer, and possible identity thief, within hours, commander of your media relations division threatened to arrest me if I didn't turn in my press pass, which I went through an FBI background check for, which I paid for. You denied me due process. Why do you think you get this derision? That's why I'm going to sue you for violating my civil rights. So my frustration with this department is different but similar as the rest of these people. You stomp over people's civil rights, and I was repeatedly threatened with arrest for simply exposing an LA City Council member as a felon. And it's going to cost you in terms of Mr. Hunt. When my suit hits, when Mr. Spindler's suit is settled, it'll cost the taxpayers.
Next
Thank you.
speaker.
Next, we have Puppet, followed by Jamie Garcia and Ahmed Khan.
So, as you hear, I've got 2 federal lawsuits pending. One against you, Mr. Chair, and, they just, a stupid jackass. You want to be president. You're defendant in my lawsuit. It's 42 U.S.C. 1983, California Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, the Brown Act 52490. And you violated it again 6 times tonight already. In fact, one of you.
Your opinion. You're off topic.
Anyway, police.
This is about
this
the
about
report of the chief
crime.
of police. If you want to speak about
did you
anything
know?
else, you can come to public comment.
Did
and
you
speak.
know
right
that?
Now you're talking about the chief of police, and you're off topic.
Yeah.
So get on topic.
It is on topic.
Sir, guess what? Okay, thank you.
It's a misdemeanor to violate the Brown Act. That's a crime statistic. This meeting is a crime scene. Every time you do it, as the man said, it's a crime. Where's the statistics on that? And we cannot come into a state-sanctioned meeting and not have our rights violated civilly and criminally by the chair and this panel, while the other puppets like McLean Hill don't say a goddamn word, and she's an attorney and she knows it's wrong. Your city attorney's an attorney, he knows it's wrong, but they don't say nothing. Why? Because you're nearly a billionaire. You're worth about $845 million, according to my private investigator. And so you got so much fucking money, they're not going to take you on. But the truth of the matter is whatever happens in all these lawsuits, the taxpayers in this room are going to pay for everything. The outside attorneys are going to hire, paid for by the taxpayer. Punitive damages, we just had one on Tuesday, paid for by the taxpayer. Does Steve Soboroff care? No, because he's a billionaire.
Next speaker.
Jamie Garcia.
Who's after Jamie?
The last 3 on number 4 are Ahmed Khan, Cynthia Valencia, and Mrs. Kamer.
Okay.
So we can have as many press conferences as we want about crime statistics, and we can talk to the press as long as we want about crime statistics. But when we have 3 sources basically telling us that LAPD is not documenting crimes appropriately, we had LA Times identify that 2,000 misclassified crimes occurred from October 2012 to September 2013. Then we had the Informer Inspector General estimated that LAPD misclassified more than 25,000 aggravated assaults as minor incidences from 2008 to 2014. Then we have Captain Lilian Carranza stating that there was underreporting in the Pacific Division and underreporting in Hollenbeck and the Mission Division. So we can have all the press conferences we want, but again, we have 3 sources now coming forward challenging the LAPD and how they're reporting crimes. So why is this an issue? It's not an issue just because we want to know how safe the city is, or we want to believe you in how you say how safe the city is. But in this age of data-driven, evidence-based policing, crime reports are important. Crime reports make up the other programs that you run. They make up predictive policing programs like PredPol and Operation Laser, which I'm sure many people in the audience don't know what PredPol or Operation Laser is. And I won't even go into whether or not our commissioners know what it is. So these programs are dependent on this kind of crime statistics. So we need to know, is there issues with property crime statistics? Is there issue with in-car theft statistics? Is there issue with burglary statistics? Because these all feed PredPol. And so I think what we need to do is not only realize that when you guys are talking about crime statistics, that the community needs to start understanding that those crime statistics are a part of a larger way that policing operates. So for me, it's really important that we talk about this, that the community knows about this, because we're coming after that program, Operation Laser. We're coming after PredPol. We're going to expose it. So it's important that we talk about these discrepancies.
And after Mr. Khan?
After Mr. Khan, we have Cynthia Valencia, and our final speaker will be Ms. Kamer.
Okay.
So the chief gave his report, and I'm not going to face them because, again, like I said, they're useless.
How many people, even in CPAF and all of these organizations, know and look at this massive architectural surveillance that the LAPD has? Suspicious activity reporting program, the iWatch See Something, Say Something program, the trapwire technology when you're walking down the street picking up your body image, Stingray that is tracking your phones, right? Automatic license plate readers. How many people have been traced and tracked as a result of the license plate readers? You have the digital receiver technology that is going into your phones as well. On and on and on. This is their architectural surveillance. This right here. This is how we are traced. This is how we are tracked. This is how we are monitored. And this is what a stalker state looks like. Because they stalk us. The information goes into these data systems. The chief is never going to talk about it. He was at a press conference. He was deriding all this shit about misclassification of crime reports. But this is a crime against humanity. This is a crime against people. This is a crime where your privacy is invaded. This is a crime when this department continues to be militarized. This is a crime when this department gets about 54% of the general funds and the city invests less than 1.5% in youth development. This is what is going on with our lives. This is what they don't want us to know. This is what Nuri Martinez don't want us to know. This is how they will get sued. This is how our taxpayers' money is going into this thing. When does this carnage stop? This is how they identify people, stalk, and murder people. The chief is not going to tell you that in 2011, 2012, 2015, and 2016, LAPD murdered the most people of any police department in the country. Did he say that? No. This is the stats that they should be bringing to the community when they're coming out into new communities. But because this system is flawed by design, and the people up there are
Okay,
shock
next
absorbers
speaker,
of the
please.
system,
Cynthia
you will never hear
Valencia.
the truth from them.
Cynthia? Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Valencia, and I work with the ACLU of Southern California. I'm here to speak on Special Order 40 that the LAPD is going to be revising. And I really want to encourage that this is a meaningful change to policy that the LAPD follows that protects immigrants. The LAPD and Chief Beck have said that they want the support and the trust of the immigrant community. They currently do not have that, and we need meaningful policy in order for that something to change. What we want is for there to be no cooperation between the Los Angeles Police Department and ICE. The current administration is currently persecuting immigrants and specifically targeting cities like Los Angeles that are supposedly sanctuary cities. That is absolutely not the case whatsoever, and we need meaningful protections for immigrants in our city. We also don't believe that the LAPD should be completely kept out of joint task forces with ICE, because that is just criminalizing immigrants and vulnerable communities. And if the LAPD wants the immigrant community to trust them and to actually report crimes when something is happening, we need to know that they will not be persecuted for crimes, for immigration crimes, and that the LAPD will not be going after them just because they came to this country wanting a better life. So the LAPD should absolutely not share any documentation with ICE. They should not be letting ICE come into the facilities, because that's not their job. The LAPD is here to protect the public. Their LAPD is not there. It's not their job to do immigration enforcement. So that's why we think when Special Order 40 is being rewritten, that you absolutely consider real meaningful protections for immigrant communities in Los Angeles and not just becoming another part of Trump's deportation force. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final comment card on the chief's report is Ms. Kamer. I apologize, I can't read the writing.
It's Mr. Kaver.
I apologize, Mr. Kamer.
Welcome, sir.
How you guys doing? I'm with Black Lives Matter. I do want to say it's better that you guys have these meetings at this time. It's more accessible. I've been wanting to get out to a meeting for quite some time, but there's no way I'm going to make it to LA in the morning through that traffic. It's just not possible. I'm up here because I want to speak about the scandal that broke out, because this actually hit to our greater network concerning Robert Kane and the LAPD with the weapons catch that was seized from his Rancho Cucamonga home. Not only am I upset that someone would have all those weapons in San Bernardino County. I'm upset that the LAPD has pretty much denied justice to those people in the San Bernardino terrorist attack, people in North Park shooting. When you have all these illegal guns in an LAPD officer's home, in a place that has been victim to gun violence repeatedly, I have questions. How did all those guns make it from wherever they did into this person's home? How did the LAPD hop on the freeway, go outside of LA County to conduct an investigation? It's extremely strange. I feel that this LAPD and this commission is participating in a cover-up of whatever corruption happened in San Bernardino. I'm talking about Rancho Cucamonga. That's San Bernardino County. Yes, I understand your officer. We finally did get some charges pressed on him in San Bernardino because that was in our county. But what right do you have just to step over here and do your investigation in our county? It makes no sense. As far as I'm concerned, this department continuously from Gates to Chief Beck, it's continuously been toxic within the community. It's continuously been corrupt. And that corruption is spilling over.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to go to public comment period.
We have a total of 38 comment cards, starting with Herman, followed by Red Chief Hunt and Kanado Lim.
So behind the mask is an actual man. A man who just served the highest chief of police in LA, Chief Charlie L. Beck, along with Matthew Johnson on behalf of Michael Hunt, the Ninth Circuit winner. It's a sham to see how the arrogance of our police enforcement in Los Angeles has been corrupted by a developer billionaire, course to fuck up everyone's life in Los Angeles. No matter who you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what ground you stand by, Ezell Ford. See, mental health is not just a common ground for 42 USC 12101. It's a disturbance of peace brought by LAPD, who suffer the same concerns of mental health. So as an advisor, take a mental health day and remember this day. Remember Wayne Spindler, for the record, on his 2 cases against you, Soboroff, against you, Chief Charlie Beck, against you, Matt Johnson, against you, Curran Price, against you, Mr. Dawson. Crimes against children, cadet programs must come to an end until there is psychological evaluations based on your criteria of mental health. Police obsessed with drinking and drugs and fucking 15-year-old children called kids. Don't ever fuck with me because I am mentally health just like
Next
the rest
speaker.
of you fuck-ups.
Red Chief Hunt, not present. Renato Lim.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Renato Lira. I am really proud to see you guys that you're here today. So yeah, it's really nice to see you. I sit on the LGBTQ board member with Chief Kamala. It's really nice because it's been really hard to bring you guys up here in our community. It's really nice. Hopefully we can continue to bring this. My important issues that we have here is that we want Chief Beck, we want the commissioners to come and do what's going on in Fort Hill Division and Mission Hills Division. I think we need more cars, more officers. I thought we can cover those areas that are really big areas. It's really humongous that we need more support because officers is really hard to get when there's an emergency. Also, as you know, we have our new chief, John, who is our new one here for the San Fernando Valley. I don't they need to come out more how to support LGBTQ, also how to work with the youth. That's more a priority, how to get the respect back into our community. I am glad to say that we've been doing a lot of changes around in our community, putting new things into the safe community for the youth. We have to continue doing that, but the way how to do that is that we need more funding for the Fort Hill Division, for Mission Hills, to get those cars getting more to their communities. We can have the safety, we can stop the crime issues, the breaking in the houses, the drug issues going on. Is doing with 4 cars is really hard for the big cities. Especially in our community, it's Silmar, San Fernando, Lake Terrace, those are big areas. There's no way how we can cover the whole entire area of that. So I am asking you guys to come out again to go what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
Next, we have Dan, followed by Mark Friedman, Paige Miller, and DA.
Commissioners, Daniel Gus. A few months ago, I wrote about Mr. Sobroff owing the city several $1,000s in dog licenses, and he has refused to provide the documentation that he paid for them. I had suggested in writing to Mr. Sobroff that if he can't figure out how much he owes the city, that he make a contribution to the city's Spay-Neuter Trust Fund, the city's Animal Welfare Trust Fund. I know that because I'm involved in those areas, but I'm not connected to the city's programs. I did this with George Kevork, noted. I did it with Brian Buckner, noted. I added Paul Koretz to the communication. And Mr. Sobroff, to deflect his debt to the city that he refuses to pay, said, "You're extorting me. You're involved in those funds." And of course I'm not. Of course I'm not. I said, "I would like to write about this if you would clear up your issues with the city, Mr. Sobroff." And all Mr. Sobroff would do would say, "Oh, that's extortion. That's extortion." For 3 months, I've encouraged Mr. Sobroff, if he feels that he's being extorted, bring it to the district attorney. Because then I'll spend $400 and I will sue you for defamation, sir. And I may have Mr. Spindler do the discovery on that. Would you like that? So be very careful what allegations you make, especially in your role as a city commissioner, because you may find yourself on the wrong side of a defamation lawsuit with Mr. Spindler doing the discovery. Just pay the damn money that you owe the city. I didn't extort you. You know that. And if you feel so, have some balls, Mr. Sobroff, and complain to Mike Feuer's office. Have some balls and go to Jackie Lacey. Otherwise, shut the hell up. Pay your damn debt to the city and stop looking to deflect it, okay? I'll otherwise leave you alone, okay? Thank you.
Next
Mark
speaker.
Friedman.
Friedman. Welcome, sir.
I know it's been a long day for everybody. We've got a lot of other comments, so I'll keep this brief. I wanted to thank you, first of all, for coming out to our community. It makes it a lot easier for us to interact with you, so thank you for that. And I just wanted to echo, as a private citizen who lives a block off of Sepulveda Boulevard, our thanks for the Human Trafficking Task Force. Lieutenant Evans, his sergeants, his line officers have been incredibly responsive. They've been engaged. They've been to my home for conversations. The tip line works. It works in terms of directing resources to where they're needed. And what was a pervasive and persistent problem is now a persistent problem, but no longer pervasive. It's made a difference in the lives of my teenage daughters, and for that, I wanted to thank the Human Trafficking Task Force. I also wanted to thank the council member, Nuri Martinez's office, for their support of the task force. And I would just ask the commission and the chief to please continue to support this important effort in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Paige Miller, followed by DA.
Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chief Beck. Paige Miller, North Hollywood Division. I just wanted to lend a voice of support here tonight. You know, when the community calls 911, it is not the politician, It is not the gangbanger, the protester, or the anarchist that shows up. It is the men and women in blue that show up. And we support you. LAPD actually, I know you wouldn't realize it at some of your meetings, but they actually have tremendous support throughout this city. It is evidenced in the neighborhood watch groups formed throughout the city partnering with our senior lead officers. It is shown in the great number of donations made to the LAPD, both in supplies and volunteer hours. The upcoming holidays, great example. They will bring many donations to the LAPD for officers to take into homes and deliver and make the holidays brighter for many families. And let me tell you, the community doesn't stop and ask where those donations are going on, what family and what neighborhood. Yes, it is important for you to hear the voice of dissenters. It is equally important that you hear the voice of LAPD supporters, as well as the voice of the officers within the department that you head. Some years ago, I headed up a campaign, Save Our Slows campaign, to preserve community policing and reinstate the senior lead officers in every division across Los Angeles. I know firsthand the value of community policing. You get your tips on human trafficking, animal abuse, drugs, and now add terrorism to the list. They come directly from those partnerships. I encourage this commission to reach out. I'm sure that you all have. I sincerely hope you've all gone on many ride-alongs with the regular folks, men and women in blue. It's important to go across. Excuse me, thank you. It is important that, excuse me, you need to sit down right now. This is not acceptable. I got to tell you, as an activist, this didn't go on several years ago. Nobody came in with signs. Nobody came in with yelling and screaming obscenities.
Thanks for taking the time.
You expect the best from the LAPD officers and the command staff. But commissioners, you also need to hold people accountable.
Thank you.
Who have abdicated their responsibilities. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you do.
DA
Thank you.
followed by Joanne D'Antonio, Adam Smith, and Puppet. DA is no longer here. Okay. Joanne D'Antonio, followed by Adam Smith and Puppet.
Welcome.
Hi. I'm on the neighborhood council for Greater Valley Glen. And last year, the senior lead officer came and gave us a flyer. This is the flyer that's from the LAPD, Van Nuys Community Police Station, leaf blower information. If you use a leaf blower, you need to understand and follow the rules that apply to their usage. The LAPD will issue you a citation if you violate this section, and then it gives the ordinance. I understand that the ACE program has given money to the LAPD to give out these citations. And the reason that we believe that leaf blowers are bad is some of us have disabilities, that we have asthma and allergies, and these leaf blowers make it difficult to breathe. The fumes from the gasoline are worse than the cars. They don't have any catalytic converters. They're pushing allergens into the air. When we call to report these violations, which are very easy to find, the police tell us to call street services, who tell us that that the police department is funded to take care of this. The police obviously can't get to a call on time if we report a leaf blower, but they won't do it in regular patrolling because they have bigger crimes that they want to go after. So what I'm suggesting is that perhaps the police department ought to give up this money and recommend that City Council have this money given to ordinance enforcers, similar to in Santa Monica or Beverly Hills, where this problem is solved.
Thank you.
Adam Smith.
Mr. Smith.
It's nice to be here at a police commission that isn't scheduled at 9:30 in the morning on a Tuesday at LAPD headquarters. I know this schedule is by design in an attempt to intimidate by putting those that can attend into a room surrounded by police officers that work for a police force with the most amount of killings of civilians in the country, as well as to make sure the least amount of community members are able to come, as one assumes most people that aren't wealthy mayoral appointees. Speaking to you guys and women, if you actually represent the residents of this city, you need to make this meeting at a location accessible to everybody, with parking and at a time and day that people with normal work schedules can attend. I'm also here tonight to point out the community came out so strongly against the LAPD drone program, and it's absolutely shameful that you all pushed community concerns aside and approved this program. See you later, buddy. The LA...
We'll give you back 10 seconds
That's
for
all right.
that.
Where was I? LAPD, the LAPD made little to no effort to actually engage the public. But that's okay with this commission, obviously. The LAPD continues to over-police black and brown communities, over-surveil black and brown communities, and this commission is obviously okay with that. With all due respect to the woman that spoke earlier, she obviously doesn't live in Hollenbeck or South Division. This LAPD has killed 194 people under Chief Beck, with no officers have been charged. I ran out of time. But we're going to keep coming back to say Black Lives Matter and fire Chief Beck.
Puppet, followed by Milena Jankovic, Julie Levine, and Fern White.
Yeah, so that's why we come with puppets. And that one woman that told one of our friends to shut up, she makes a better puppet than my puppet. I mean, I can't top that. You know, all of these people, you got supporters, 90% of them are with nonprofits. And they take the money and they donate it. They get tax donations. The nonprofits donate the money back to the department. And in exchange for that, you get favors. It's called blackmail and bribery and corruption. You guys call it donations, and you have it on your schedule every Tuesday morning at 9:30. And what happens when you're 2 minutes late to the meeting? They take all the donations, 50 of them last time, 20 of them last time, and they close all the items of public comment because they don't want people to hear about. Why are the Dodgers giving all this money away? Did the Dodgers pay for all that extra security during the World Series and the playoffs? Has the city taxpayers been reimbursed for all those extra cops, Chief Beck, that you put over there? $2 million of overtime? No. So for $2 million of overtime, they donate $200,000 a year to you and these little luncheons and everything. What a bargain. And that's the whole thing to the young people here. You know, I'm 46, 47, you know. If I had it to do all over again, I would do what my great uncle did. He bought up a quarter of the Chicago waterfront. You know how he did it? He beat people up and took their deeds, okay? So if you want young people, don't go to college. Join the mafia. Join the mafia and become one of these guys, okay? Because this is your city. This is a mafia-controlled city just like Chicago, except Chicago's got one advantage. They have a little class. See, like before they shoot you, they tell you why. With these assholes, they just shoot you, and then they don't tell you why. So please, have a little comedy, would you?
Milena Jankovic.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Milena, and I'm a Los Angeles City resident of 5 years, and I'm an immigrant. I'm here to talk to you tonight about Special Order 40. Is anybody else in the audience here to talk about Special Order 40? I first heard about Special Order 40 back in March when I went to my local police station to inquire about the state of LAPD cooperation with ICE and other DHS component agencies. I was surprised to hear that LAPD hasn't updated this document since 1979. It was quite obvious, even to a civilian like me and somebody who knows nothing about the subject, that the apparatus of federal immigration enforcement has evolved quite a bit since 1979. It is also obvious that ICE and other DHS component agencies are acting increasingly rogue under President Trump, and that by collecting and sharing unnecessary data, LAPD is funneling immigrants into Trump's deportation machine. LAPD is now working on updating Special Order 40, and you should pass the strongest possible policy to protect our immigrant communities. You need to stop collaborating with ICE, and you need to stop collecting place of birth and other unnecessary personal information. Why is it important where I was born? I was born somewhere else. I was not born in this country. But I'm a resident of this city, and I need to be protected like anyone else. You're working for all of us, all of the communities, not just the select few. Also, if I may go off topic for 1 second, this is my first meeting of this sort, and I'm quite shocked by what I see tonight. You guys seem to have taken a page from Trump's book or something like that. The community is telling you all sorts of things. Most of them are publicly known scandals. And you guys are sitting there stone-faced, saying nothing and spinning your PR pitch like nothing is happening. So much for community policing.
Julie Levine, followed by Fern White, Saya Roberts, and Corrine Ho. Julie Levine?
Welcome.
This is the third or fourth of these meetings that I've gone to, and I really have come to the conclusion that it's really just cosmetic. It's really never intended to make any difference. None of you are intended to really hear our concerns or respond in any real way. It's very, very, very discouraging. I don't know what that means in terms of a community presence or community policing, but certainly there's a reason why that we are so suspicious, and there is a reason why that we are so concerned, whether it is in terms of your collaboration with ICE or whether it is in terms of the use of drones. I am a resident of Topanga Canyon. I do a lot of work in the San Fernando Valley with the San Fernando Valley Peace Alliance, and I'm concerned not only about the drones in terms of privacy, but also in terms of the intimidation of them. Already I feel that this police force tends to be very, very intimidating in the way that they deal with us. And I feel this because in terms of the use of drones, we've stood out here time and time again. You have had so much response. 97 out of 1675 people filling out surveys have been against the use of drones. I have to say the media, the corporate media, which generally does not cover us, has been covering this extremely well. Every time I turn to 1010 Wins, I hear about how the people overwhelmingly have rejected the use of drones. But this commission, which is supposed to be there to support us, I thought, doesn't seem to really want to respond in any kind of way other than to shut us down. There's a reason that the people here are so upset and they're speaking out the way they are, for those of you here that don't understand why. And that's because, frankly, we're fed up and we realize that there is no real intention to hear us or to respond to what are extremely legitimate concerns. And just to, I guess, follow up, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Levine.
Fern White, followed by Saya Roberts, Corrine Ho, and Tim Werner. Fern White?
If the speakers following Ms. White want to sort of get in line, it's going to save probably an hour.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner, all of you. My name is Fern White. I'm a local resident of West Hills, an active community member with Topanga Police Department, CPAP, Neighborhood Council, and work with the SLOs, being the liaison between them and the community. I created the first, largest, most successful Facebook group called Crime Busters. It's targeted for Topanga Division, and the SLOs are active. Why? Because the crime has gotten so high with the uptick. They all want answers, the community. They're scared to shop in their neighborhood centers. constant aggressive criminal panhandling, and addicts in the public. Our Topanga SLO senior lead officers have built a fantastic rapport with the community. But unfortunately, it's mostly due to the large increase in crime over the past year due to Prop 47 and AB 109. Our community and police officers are beyond frustrated. Their hands are tied by the laws which must change. We are asking, begging you, Police Commission, Police Chief, to stand behind our officers, please, and help them be the police and the officers they were once to protect and serve our community, where we don't feel safe anymore. Criminals are being released into our streets, where our children and families are growing up thinking this is the norm, for transients doing drugs, using the sidewalks for the bathrooms in public. Please, sir, we need you to deploy more police in our area. More important, we need to feel as a community that our police commissioner, police chief, and LAPD stands behind and supports our officers. It seems the city of Los Angeles, California legislation, city council person are protecting everyone except the ones abusing the system, except the law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. As of now, we don't feel like anyone stands behind us, the community, our officers that want so badly to protect and serve us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Saya Roberts.
After Ms. Roberts.
We have Corrine Ho and Tim Werner.
Welcome.
Thank you. First, thank you all for your service. Over the past couple years, the homeless crisis in LA has exploded. Our once safe residential neighborhoods are no longer safe. There's a direct impact on our safety by a particular portion of the homeless, which are the drug addicts. On a daily basis, I have seen at least one of the following: open use of drugs, people urinating or defecating on our sidewalks, syringe, excuse me, can we pause? I did not interrupt you, so please be quiet. You're the only side being rude. Stop. Thank you. Okay. Public areas, carts full of trash, stolen items, and mentally ill or drug addicts having some sort of psychotic episode, tents and RVs in residential neighborhoods, harassment, aggressive panhandling at local shopping centers. Our city is deteriorating, and it's deteriorating fast, and the police have their hands tied because of legislation, AB 109, Props 47, and Props 57 enabling this behavior. I have seen open drug use and deals because there is no fear of consequence. We are reporting daily encampments, RVs, graffiti, dumping, nudity, syringes. These transients have been approached multiple times by the homeless outreach and refuse help because they don't want to sober up, and we can't arrest them or force them into rehab. For all intents and purposes, they are a protected class. This has a direct impact on our children. As a mother, I do not want my kids approached by a junkie that would harm them because they're high on meth. I don't want my kids going to the park where there's syringes laying around, people taking a dump in public, getting naked, having psychotic breakdowns, and I especially don't want them, excuse you, please, and I don't want their dealer on the streets targeting my kids when they're teenagers as their potential new clients. It can happen to anyone, sure, but that's if you make the wrong choices, and we shouldn't have to go down with them because they chose drugs over being a protective member of society. So I'm asking you to please support our officers in getting us the resources we need to fight this problem. Thank you, and thank you for
Thanks for your
thank you
patience.
for your service.
Thank you for your patience.
Corrine Ho, followed by Tim Werner, David Abdul, and Teresa Borden.
If we're going to interrupt the public speakers, then we're going to stop the public comment. Let's give them the respect they give to you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Police Commissioners, Chief Beck. My name is Corrine Ho. I am a constituent of Council District 3. We are very happy that you are here in the Valley tonight because it gives us the opportunity to address the concerns that we have with you. It is very difficult for us to go downtown on a Tuesday morning. I represent tonight, a collective voice of very concerned citizens in the West Valley. As the previous speakers have given you a glimpse of what we have in our neighborhood, I am not going to expand on that, but it is a dire situation. It is a situation where residents are fearful because of the crimes and the transients and the homeless issue that we have in our neighborhood. We are asking the Police Commission and Chief Beck to collaborate with other entities in the city to look for a multi-jurisdictional solution, if there is such thing, for this issue that we are having. We're not the only one in the city who have these issues, but that doesn't mean that it's okay, and that doesn't mean that it's tolerable. I am also here to give a shout out to our senior lead officers. As we all know, our senior lead officers are the tip of the spears of city government. They are doing a wonderful job at the Topanga Division. They are, our 7 senior lead officers have built a great, strong network of community who use that network to report crimes, to educate ourselves, to educate the community. So this is a shout out for them. And again, thank you for all the work that you do. And I hope in closing, I hope that this comment will be taken with the utmost regards. We cannot be here all the time repeating the same message.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim
Thank
Warner.
you for your patience.
Hi, thank you for this time. I've been photographing and demonstrating and everything in the West Valley. I'm from Crime Busters, Transient Homeless, West Hills, and Woodland Hills. I've been photographing and documenting every homeless camp. It's not a homeless camp, they're heroin camps, all through the entire West Valley. I've been in the camps, I've been on the sidewalks, I've been on the off-ramps with every one of them, I've been offered drugs, I've been told all kinds of activities that have been going on at the off-ramp at Winnetka. I've witnessed numerous there's heroin all over the streets, there's needles everywhere on the off-ramp at Topanga. It's all about countless heroin, butane lighters, butane containers used for making all kinds of other drugs, stolen mail, stolen phones, lots of car and cords and everything that's been stolen out of cars, stolen mail, stolen packages off of the things. These are all on all the off-ramps. There's been the Winnetka off-ramp right across from Taft. There's heroin needles, stolen items from all the neighborhood stores, sledgehammers 3 different times in 3 different locations. There's been 70 storefronts busted into where they're using these hammers to break the storefront windows. Carts full of stolen items. A cart full of security shirts that were stolen out of a local dry cleaners. I've been on behind the Ralph's on Victory and Fallbrook. It was a shopping bag filled with stems and sticks and branches of marijuana that they just processed, literally this high. There were 4 needles there, for heroin needles that were there. They break into everything. And this is all
Thank you,
because
sir.
of Prop 47, 57, and AB 109. The officer hands are tied. They can't do anything to stop the crime that's going on in
Thank
the
you,
West
sir.
Valley.
David, I believe Abdul, I may be pronouncing the name incorrectly, followed by Teresa Borden, Carlos Amador, and Jamie Garcia.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is David Aboud. I'm also a resident of Los Angeles. I wanted to come today to talk also about Special Order 40 and the LAPD's efforts to try to revamp a Special Order 40 in ways that are problematic and deeply harmful to our community. I wanted to just read out part of a community impact statement that was passed by the Neighborhood Council of Van Nuys, which meets directly over here in the building next door. So part of that says, develop an ordinance to assure, this is written to the City Council. They urge the City Council to develop an ordinance to assure that Mayor Garcetti's Executive Directive 20 is properly enforced. While the directive does symbolize progress, it is not an ordinance and therefore leaves room for rogue individuals to ignore the directive and act in their own interest. I want to be clear that this Special Order 40 in revamping it, that the LAPD must take all the steps possible, and the city council with it, as well as the police commission, to make sure that there are no ways in which the LAPD continues to collaborate with ICE, which right now it does so robustly. I want to continue saying, reading from the community impact statement, which reads, address vulnerabilities in Mayor Garcetti's Executive Directive 20. The confidentiality measures included may still allow for the transmission of information from law enforcement to federal immigration authorities. Additionally, the directive does not address prisoner transfer between law enforcement to immigration authorities, which could result in the collateral arrest of undocumented residents who are not suspected or involved in serious crimes. There's a number of other demands that they put together in this community impact statement, but I want to share that the people of Van Nuys, that the people who are represented by the neighborhood council in Van Nuys are over 100,000 people who passed this resolution almost unanimously, and I urge that the police commission take that into account and make a strong special order, when they're revamping special order, make it strong enough
Teresa
so that it
Borden,
stops
Carlos
collaboration with
Amador,
the
and Jamie
LAPD. Thank you.
Garcia.
Welcome.
Good evening. As Los Angeles residents, we know immigrants are a vital and inseparable part of our city and our neighborhoods. We must and we will stand up to bigots like our president who recklessly target members of our communities. All LA residents deserve to be treated fairly by LAPD no matter what their background, what they look like, or where they were born. All residents deserve to know that the local police will not cooperate with ICE to deport our families and our neighbors. Right now, the Los Angeles Police Department is in the process of updating Special Order 40, which was enacted in 1979 with the central purpose of making it clear that LAPD would not target immigrants for their immigration status. Special Order 40 is outdated and needs to be revised to match the time we're in. Trump is relying increasingly on local police departments to expand the size and the strength of his deportation force. LA policy must clearly affirm that it has no interest and will have no involvement in deportations. The policy that we enact should have a don't collect, don't collaborate, and don't criminalize standard. And in don't collect, it should specifically have that immigration status or place of birth has is not asked for as part of LAPD interactions with the community. LAPD can't share what it doesn't have. Immigration officials often use this place of birth as a proxy for immigration status and issue deportation orders based on that. I was born in Miami Beach, Florida. It has nothing to do with my life here in Los Angeles. So I don't believe that LAPD needs to be asking people where they were born. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carlos Amador.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Amador, and I am a resident here in the San Fernando Valley. I am also part of the California Immigrant Policy Center, and I would like to speak on the issue of LAPD's efforts to update Special Order 40 on immigration. I believe that Trump's xenophobic agenda is using ICE to force collaboration with local law enforcement. They need ICE. ICE needs local law enforcement to execute their deportation agenda. And in order to protect the city, protect the residents from across the city, we want to make sure that LAPD stops collaborating with ICE in every form. We want to make sure that LAPD does not ask people where they were born when they're walking and encountering them in the streets. And we also want to make sure that LAPD is not collaborating in any form of task force with ICE. LAPD has the ability to collaborate in other type of efforts without having to collaborate with ICE. Many community members have been impacted by deportation because of such collaborations on task forces. We want to make sure that LAPD also is at the forefront on protecting immigrants across the country. LAPD has a duty to do this, the moral duty to do this. And in fact, protecting the community, we want to make sure that if LAPD and LA City claims to be at the forefront of immigrant issues, that if you want to claim that you're not engaging and supporting the deportation efforts, that you pass the strongest and most sweeping measures to protect immigrants here in the city and to be against Trump's deportation machine. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Jamie Garcia next, followed by Scott Doyle, Graciela Lopez, and Napoleon Pena.
So I just wanted to start my public comment by unfortunately realizing how racist and classist the Valley is. We seem to have people here who think that just putting people in cages is a solution, and it's pretty sad, which is why they probably don't care that black and brown people die at the hands of law enforcement. But I do want to give props to our white allies in the room who are showing people how to be on the right side of history. So I wanted to address Ms. McLean Hill again. The last time that we were in the same room together, we were talking about drones and the drone footage, and we were talking about Matt Johnson's amendment to the drone policy, which stated that facial recognition technology wouldn't be on the drone. But again, I wanted to come back at you because you said that I was heard, that because of our concerns, that this is why facial recognition technology is not on the drones, so I should somehow feel satisfied. But I wanted to walk us through again what it means about the drone having footage, having even ability to collect footage. So, so it's going to collect footage. That's the first thing. So what's going to happen to this footage? It's going to be analyzed, it's going to be stored, and it's going to be shared. But who is it going to be analyzed by now? And this is the catch, is that you've just entered into a 14-month partnership with Axon, with the Police Foundation, with UCLA to use artificial intelligence to actually data mine this footage and to begin to detect patterns, to predict, to program an algorithm to predict behavior. So this is where we're going with everything. So nothing has been protected. There's been no protections at all with the facial recognition technology not being on the drone, so we inherently weren't heard. So I wanted that to be very clear. And I want this to be on your radar right now for realizing now that artificial intelligence is being used to predict behavior. So they actually want to get machinery that LAPD will be using to predict what people will do, where the National Academy of Sciences has actually come out and said data mining and behavioral surveillance doesn't work with people, yet you're going forward with this program. So that needs to be understood.
Good evening. Mayor Garcetti has stated publicly that Los Angeles police will never, quote, act as a federal immigration force. Police Chief Breck has asserted that his officers will not, quote, work in conjunction with Homeland Security on deportation efforts. Unfortunately, actual policy on the ground does not align with this rhetoric. Whenever we raise this issue, we get told Special Order 40, as if those 3 words were some kind of magical protective shield over Los Angeles's immigrant community. Rarely has so much been made of a policy that does so little. To be fair, Special Order 40 was an important step forward at the time, but that was 38 years ago, and as a previous speaker noted, the apparatus of federal immigration enforcement has increasingly grown vast and complex in those years, as has the entanglement of local law enforcement with that apparatus. And Special Order 40 does little to nothing to restrict that cooperation. We are glad to see the LAPD embark on a long overdue review and update of that policy. Unfortunately, based on what we've heard of their current draft, they are not using this as an opportunity to take a bold stand that LAPD will no longer play ball with ICE. Instead of enumerating the ways in which LAPD will not work with ICE, this draft, in fact, enumerates all the ways that they will continue to work with ICE. So in one sense, it's actually a step backward, codifying, institutionalizing, and normalizing ongoing involvement in immigration enforcement. This is not a question of public image or PR. The ACLU estimates that 70% of deportations begin with direct or indirect cooperation between local law enforcement and and ICE. It is the driver of Trump's deportation machine. A department with a model of protect and serve cannot embrace such a model while voluntarily partnering with an agency who has essentially put a target on all undocumented immigrants. Thank you.
Graciela Lopez, followed by Napoleon Pampena, Carl, and Jasmine.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Graciela Lopez, and I am with the California Immigrant Policy Center. I'm a community organizer here to encourage and ensure that the Special Order 40, which is as previously mentioned, a policy that hasn't been updated since 1979. I want to ensure that if that policy is going to be updated, that it be in its strongest form to fully protect the immigrant community rather than criminalizing them. The proposed order carries a lot of problematic language. For example, one of the proposed updates is to collect and ask individuals' place of birth upon and after arrest, even though that information is not legally required under the law. Our communities are often criminalized over police, and there's already mistrust within our communities, as some of the as the LAPD own data states, there has been a decrease in sexual assaults reports within the Latino community as compared to last year. Our communities are not going to fully they're not going to want to cooperate with law enforcement if there's a risk in being placed in deportation proceedings. Again, I want to make sure that this update that does take place, and when it does take place, that it be in its strongest form to fully protect those in our community members rather than criminalizing them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Napoleon, followed by Carl and Jasmine.
Welcome.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm a resident of the San Fernando Valley, and I'm here with a broad coalition of immigrants, community members, and leaders to advocate for immigrants who are heavily persecuted under the current racist, xenophobic, homophobic, misogynist administration. As LAPD is in the process of revising Special Order 40, we need LAPD to pass the strongest protections against deportations. Now is the time to protect families and communities across the city and send a strong message to Trump's cruel and out-of-control deportation machine that has no place in this city. Among other things, the new special orders should ensure that LAPD keep ICE out of jails. More than a dozen localities prohibit ICE from entering their jails without a warrant, as does the Executive Order 20 announced by Mayor Garcetti earlier this year. We need the new special order to ensure that LAPD not share any personal information with ICE unless legally required, that LAPD and broken windows and zero tolerance policing, criminalization of quality of life, and other low-level offenses are unjust and can lead to deporting breadwinners and other community members. We also require that LAPD limit arrest and booking for minor offenses and expand citation and release in lieu of arrest and broadly interpret permissible forms of identification. Los Angeles should be at the forefront of the fight for immigrants. LAPD must pass the strongest protections in its new special order and not be complicit with the racist anti-immigrant federal administration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Carl, followed by Jasmine, Falsok, and Kayut Sami.
Welcome.
Hello. Before I begin, I want to make a few acknowledgements. I want to acknowledge the Tongva and Chumash people, who are the original stewards of this Greater of Los Angeles, who are the original stewards of this unceded, stolen land. And whether the LAPD are called officers or overseers, they continuously cause violence in our communities, and they should be held accountable. And LPD should not criminalize immigrants who are trying to make a living and bring food to their table. Stop over-policing poor communities and end policing now. Right now, the federal government is persecuting immigrants, queer, trans immigrants, disabled immigrants, black and brown immigrants, pressuring local law enforcement to help deport millions of people, millions of families, right? So when local police and sheriffs act as deportation agents, that further undermines trust and confidence in our law enforcement. When police ask people about their immigration status, it places an additional level of fear and mistrust on the law enforcement, thinking that such information could potentially land them in deportation proceedings. Entangling police in the deportation process puts even victims and witnesses of crimes at risk and further undermines community confidence. So we ask, LAPD should not collect immigration status or place of birth. A city with the largest population of immigrants in the country, Los Angeles, not only has the moral duty to protect Native, immigrant, and indigenous residents, it has a social and economic reasons as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jasmine?
Welcome.
Okay. So I'm from the Immigrant Youth Coalition, and I am undocumented. And it's honestly, I have class tomorrow, and it's honestly, I didn't know you had meetings like Tuesdays, 9 a.m., which is honestly like disgusting because we're working class, we can't make it. We're not like these billionaires over here that can like afford to take time off work or go to school, right? So I just want to reiterate the points that were made before, that the LAPD needs to stop collaborating with the with ICE and the sheriff department, because it's honestly funny that a lot of like these white people that came up here say that you're here to protect us when you're here to separate our families. Yeah, and just like to say that not just like protecting like the good immigrants, you know, you need to protect everybody, and stop criminalizing our communities, because honestly, like, I'm just so tired of y'all. So yeah. So Los Angeles should be at the forefront of fighting for immigrants, all migrants. Yeah, the city with the largest population of immigrants in this community, you have the moral duty. I don't know, just, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fall Sock, followed by Kai Utsami, Jed Perriott, and Michelle Dumont.
Paul Sok with the Youth Justice Coalition. I am an immigrant. I came here when I was 61 days old. And when I was 34, I was handed over by law enforcement to immigration enforcement. And so I know what it's like to be stuck in deportation proceedings. I know what it's like to be ready to tell my family goodbye. I know what it's like to lose sleepless nights. I know what it's like to live in limbo 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was turned over for choices and decisions I made when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, after my single parent father had passed away. It's not LAPD's business to enforce immigration in any context, in any way. There's a lot of things at stake when we're talking about deportation. It's not law enforcement's business in the local communities to separate our families. It's not about that. It's about keeping our communities safe. But with that, I just want to leave that thought that it's about families. Just protect us and help us. But on a different note, regarding our homeless people, you know, there's a lot of sentiments against our homeless people. Homelessness has increased because of gentrification, because of capitalism without a social safety net for them. And sure, they use drugs. They're using drugs because they have to cope with the lack of dignity of being forced to live on the streets. Prop 4757, AB 109 was structured with cost savings. That money was supposed to come to the communities for centers, treatment centers. Where are those centers? I haven't seen one. That's why our homeless people have nowhere to go. Who do they reach out to? It just plainly doesn't exist. So look at the whole facts. Look at every fact. Look at the bigger and broader picture. Don't just look at a piece of it. Thank you. YJC.
Kai Utsami.
Welcome, sir.
This police commission that's supposed to be an oversight committee for the LAPD is a total failure as an oversight committee. It's really part of the LAPD. You know, it doesn't represent the community. It just represents what the LAPD does over and over and over again. The public, in mass surveys, they said, we want no drones, we want no drones, massively. And this commission approved the drone. And the drones go mostly to the SWAT team, the most brutal part of LAPD, the most militarized and brutal gung-ho part that has no recognition of human rights, especially for black and brown community. You know, it is long history, as far as I know, starting with Chief Parker, but probably before that, of racism against anyone that wasn't white by the LAPD. And that's a historical fact. I don't make this up. And this woman that talked about all the feces and things on homeless, I don't know where she's been, but I'm in Skid Row all the time, and I hardly see any issues of feces on the ground. When there is, it's because the mayor does not provide enough toilet facility, sanitation facility for the homeless. You know, they're all human beings. We all have the same kind. We eat the same, we expel the same. So do you. Your shit is no better than ours, all right? And sum her off, you're a billionaire? Yeah. Now I see why you look down on
Jed
poor
Harriet,
people.
followed by Michelle Dumont, Matt, and Audrey George.
Jed Harriet had to leave early, so I'm talking on his behalf. My name is Alex Herria, and I'm a resident of the Valley as well. And I would like to say the fact that, yes, we have to say constantly, you know, like as, for example, Lieutenant Colonel the Baltimore Police Department says, the police department is often being tasked with too much to do. And it's true. They should not be tasked with dealing with the issues of homelessness, which, if we are actually experiencing an increase, you know, lowering rates of crime, we should be putting that money then towards actually solving the issues of homelessness, which would actually then, which mean increasing services that could include needle exchange programs, providing with permanent housing, not a bandage program that'll just either provide them toilets for a certain amount of time only to fight a Hep A outbreak. We should actually do what is necessary to, you know, to tackle the outcomes of an unjust system that pins the majority of us against the few, or vice versa. And secondly, you know, on the issue of Special Order 40, that again, we're now, like, you know, like we've also with drones, the fact that we've had a unanimous vote on the issues of drones. We had a unanimous vote on the issue of the Olympics, which would declare the city a national special security event, which would bring Department of Homeland Security to oversee the LAPD, and we do not want that in our communities because we should be in charge. We should we should protect everyone who lives here, regardless of their document, whether they are here legally or not, or undocumented or not. Thank you.
Michelle Dumont.
Welcome.
This is really sad. You can never get it right, can you? You come into a community and then you surround the people who are coming from the community to speak to you with armed officers, rude, horrible people at the doorways, ordering people around, and then all of these police officers. I'm paying them to stand here and look at these people in this meeting. What are you afraid of? I know what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the fact that you do nothing. You don't represent the community. You don't oversee the police. And you do not solve any problems. And these meetings are not, these meetings in the communities, these are not your regular meetings. They're very irregular meetings. That's a great idea, but your regular meetings should be in community sites, and they should be in the evenings so that they are accessible to people. And we will keep asking for that over and over and over again until you respond. More of the public needs access and needs to have their voices heard at these meetings. Secondly, this body and your chief are the biggest liars in the world, as every police officer I've run into manifests also. Incorrect reporting, lying on documents, lying in court, over and over and over again. You don't solve problems, you create problems.
The next speaker, please.
Wow.
Matt, followed by Audrey George, Hamid Khan, and Mylene Carberry.
Okay.
My sign says, please fire back. In a community that has the most murderous police department, in a community where no officers will be held accountable, in a community where children can be abused by officers and there can be not a moment of accountability, we demand Charlie Beck be fired. And I'd like to say an additional point in my last couple seconds. You want to get the community involved with profiling and criminalizing their suspicious neighbors with programs, and you trust them to do that, but you don't trust them to say things like, we don't want drones. You know better than them, but you're okay with them profiling their neighbors. You're okay with them criminalizing the people who live around them simply because of suspicious things that we all know we can't trust people's snap judgments. Additionally, you see this room here, and you have a community full of immigrants, and you've asked them to be trustworthy, to trust you, and that you promise to protect them, and yet simultaneously you continue to support and collaborate with ICE in a variety of different ways. You can't support the community and then criminalize the community. You can't ask the community to trust you and then stab them in the back. You're playing both sides to your advantage, and you can't have that anymore. As people of this city, as people of this county, we demand accountability. We demand Charlie Beck be fired for a lack of accountability in the police department, because someone needs to be accountable. And if you're not willing to do it, we're continuing to come back every day to do it. So thank you.
Next speaker.
Audrey George.
Next speaker.
Chief Beck.
Start the clock.
I want to add my voice to those who say, freeze ICE out of Los Angeles. So we exposed the trajectory about SWAT. So what happens? SWAT gets to control the drone program. We talked about the approval, the 100% approval rate that LAPC has for all LAPD reports, proposals, and asks. So what do we get? Who gets to vote on any drone usage and expanded usage? The LAPC. We exposed how the community wants a no drone vote overwhelmingly. So what do we get? A total disregard, except from Cynthia, of all of that community input. The drone, when they did ask for input at a meeting in Van Nuys, there was also 100% ask for no drones. Some of the input from the community was, do you want to have a conversation with the community, or do you want to continue speaking over us for the rest of our lives? We, the young people of color who live in the community, 42% Latino, Let me remind you, we are sick and tired of being talked over, and our lives matter too. So if you want to have a real Van Nuys conversation, we should all be sitting down there. This is not a conversation. We pay you. We should be able to dictate how these community meetings happen in 2017. We know who the terrorist is. It's been happening for a long time, and they happen to be in uniform most of the time.
Next speaker, please.
That's
Ahmed
from Van
Khan,
Nuys
followed by
community.
Mylene
Mr. Khan.
Carberry, Aaron Schwartzbart, and Isaac Lieberman.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I'm here, Milan Carberry, with March and Rally, and I just want to, so many of my colleagues have spoken so eloquently about Special Order 40 and how we would like to see it updated so that it represents the community better. Its original intent was to protect immigrants, and now we really needed much stronger language. So we're hoping that LAPD will have no more joint task force with ICE. We're hoping LAPD will not be sharing any more information with ICE, that ICE will not be allowed to go into the prisons and talk to the people in the prisons, because a lot of times they don't even understand what's happening. You know, they're afraid, they're under tension, there's language difficulties, and they sign things that they don't understand what they're signing. It's not okay. They need representation before any conversation happens. Also, that we would like to have the minor infractions not criminalized. There ought to be more ticketing and release than arresting. Street vendors should not be arrested. They're just trying to make a living. That's just ridiculous. And okay, so I think no more sharing information with ICE. I mean, LAPD should be protecting the community, and that means getting to know the community and know what the community needs for itself to stay safe. That means being more active in outreaching to help people, to help families. If you know the families, you would know when things start to go wrong, how to help them, not to criminalize them or to look at them as the enemy. And I don't think it cannot be overstated how the profitizing off of young black and brown lives and immigrants going into detention centers through GeoCorps. They have a huge impact on what happens with LAPD. And we need to really look at that, because GeoCorps has an even stronger
Next
relationship
speaker,
now
Ahmed Khan.
with President
Mr.
Trump.
Khan.
Thank you.
One of the goals for the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition for the last several years has been to come here and do knowledge exchange and knowledge share. That's how we've been exposing. That's why we've been exposing the conspiracies, the lies, the violence, the massive militarization, the architecture of the surveillance. But as we are doing that, I think it's also incumbent upon us to expose that who makes these police commissions as well. Now, Liberty Hill Foundation is supposedly one of the most progressive foundations in the country. In Los Angeles, it is known, but the president of the Liberty Hill Foundation happens to be a police commissioner, and her name is Shane Goldsmith, right? Now, what does Shane Goldsmith do? We bring up issues to her attention. Of course, Liberty Hill Foundation's motto is change, not charity. Of course, it's about building power in the community. Of course, it's talking about that how do we do systems change. But what does Shane Goldsmith do? She is a part of the subcommittee that created the drone policy. Now, when we fill out these grant proposals, one of the things that foundations want you to do is to go out in the community, get petitions, and be change agents. There's 5,500 signatures on the petitions that come to Shane Goldsmith. There's over thousands of surveys that they did themselves, out of which only 6% said yes. Over 1,100 emails Shane Goldsmith received as a subcommittee member, and only 6 saying yes. What does she do? She moves on with the policy. So when we are talking about the LAPD, we cannot just let the police commission get by, because they are the shock absorbers of the system. They are the people that sit here and listen to all the anger and the concerns on the community, and they provide a shield and a wall to protect. It's not about protect and serve the community, it's protect and serve the cops. That is the role that the police commission has been doing. And then whether they do it
Next
or not,
speaker,
but we're
please.
going to keep
Aaron
on coming over here,
Schwartzbart,
Aaron
followed by
keep on
Isaac
Schwartzbart.
coming over here,
Lieberman,
and keep on
David
exposing
Troy,
these shameless people.
and Heather
And
Michaels.
she's right there.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, thank you. I'm Aaron Schwartzbart, driver of Motor Gospel Ministries John 3:16 race car, and I'm excited to tell you about several milestones since the last time I addressed y'all. We've opened the Motor Gospel Youth Center where we teach young people to build fast cars, we teach young people to drive fast cars, and importantly, we teach them the right place and the right time. That's at the track, not in the streets, with pedestrians in harm's way, with cross traffic, with innocent bystanders. When I'm doing 150 plus in turn 1 at Fontana, running over top of somebody doing 125, getting overtaken by somebody doing in excess of 200 miles an hour, we never ever have innocent bystanders in harm's way. We take the young people to the track, we expose them to those kind of risks, we let them see how quickly things can go awry, and consequently they're much less likely to engage in these kind of irresponsible behaviors in the streets. We have, in response to feedback from the LAPD, we've developed a mobile version of the auto shop that we're taking to Compton. We're taking it to Crenshaw. We can take the auto shop program anywhere there's need. No taxpayer dollars, no cost to the PD, no cost to the taxpayers. It's entirely philanthropically supported. Rydell Dodge, Galpin Ford, Hector's Auto, Wild Pony Motorsports, Dodge Brothers Automotive, a bunch of people are jumping on board with this. We're extremely excited about the impact that we're having in the community. There are way too many people right in this room for me to remember who all to thank, but suffice it to say, if this program saves any lives, we have from Commander Todd Chamberlain on down to thank if this program saves any lives. Y'all have been very encouraging and very enabling to us, and we're grateful for it. Thank you, and keep up the great work.
Good. Thanks for what you do.
Our final 4 cards are Isaac Lieberman, David Troy, Heather's Michaels, and Ronnie Velis.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Isaac Lieberman, and I am mad as hell because I am paying attention to what is being done to the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights that I love. In this so-called land of the free, I recently heard we have 5 times the rate of incarceration than the next highest nation's rate. Our so-called war on drugs is an abject failure, except from the perspective of stealing public money to fund a police state, an incarceral state, and to enslave, literally, primarily people of color, violating the 14th Amendment. I'm here to talk about Special Order 40 and the drone program. Less than 10% of those surveyed supported the drone program that this commission recently approved. That is obscene. Is this a democracy? No, it's a plutocratic oligarchy. I believe in the Bill of Rights, and I believe approval of the drone program violates the 4th Amendment's protection against unreasonable search. It is an affront to and an attack on the community the department is supposed to protect and serve. Use the money to hire social workers. I oppose the drone program, and you all obviously should have too. On Special Order 40, I oppose any joint task force between LAPD and ICE. I oppose LAPD asking place of birth. I support public facilities for homeless so that they have toilets to use. Portugal largely solved its heroin problem. We should follow their lead.
Thanks for your opinions. Next.
David Troy.
And then you have 2 others?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome, David.
I'm appalled at our country's throwing away the Bill of Rights, the country that I grew up believing in. I loved this country. All men created equal. Where's the rest of you guys? didn't need to listen to us, did they? Thank you for staying at least. You're not doing very good. Those drones are far from America. The thing I'm most aware of, that I watch the most, is the war on the homeless. How long do they live? How many crops have we been through already? But the even most glaring thing is the ratios of abuse on the black neighborhood and the brown neighborhoods. I'm ashamed of my country and I'm ashamed of you.
Next speaker, please.
Heather Michaels, followed by Ronnie Veliz.
Welcome. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, thank you, and thank you so much for your service. What I'd like to...
Can you speak into the microphone? It's hard to hear up here.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to address the community outreach and the importance of the dialogue that I do see between our communities, between our police departments and our greater communities. We are a diverse community, and I do see so many vital programs and so much work to engage our communities in conversation. So I would like to point that out first. You know, it's unfortunate because there's been this fear that's existed between the police departments and the community, but I think that as a unit, as a global community, we've worked really hard to dispel the fear that exists on both sides. You know, there's a homelessness issue that we are dealing with. There's a mental health crisis. There's DACA. There's, you know, our indigenous community that is in fear with this new administration. And without making this about a party issue, the most important thing here is to bring all sides together to find solution. And I do see that. I see Eric Garcetti. I see Paul Krikorian, Adrian Nazarian. I see all of our communities coming together to find solutions and get people off the streets. So I think it's good to have this continued dialogue, and I just want to thank you for your service and for your compassion for our communities. I didn't know that much about this particular event this evening, but I felt somebody had to speak up and say, we are seeing a lot of positivity and a lot of outreach and a lot of advancement and a lot of homelessness finding solution where there are programs and they're getting jobs and they're getting off the street. But it really starts with dialogue and communication and caring. And I thank all of you for being here and taking the time to have this engagement.
Thank you.
And I'm Heather Michaels. Thank you so much.
Our final comment card for public comment is Ronnie Veliz.
Welcome.
Buenas noches. It is shocking to see that there's actually a meeting at 7 p.m. I'm a Mission Hills constituent. I live in City 7. I'm a student. I'm the first one in my family to ever go to grad school. I'm a future social worker. I am also the first one in my family to come out as transgender. Thank you. I am from the Valley. I grew up in Van Nuys. I grew up in Pacoima, Mission Hills, San Fernando. I think that you should have these meetings in community sites. It is very, it's traumatizing to have them in these type of buildings. I think that homelessness and immigration, the more I study, the more I talk to the community, it's a public health issue. It's not a public safety issue. Let me help you understand it better. When I was 17 in my first year in the United States, I came to Van Nuys without knowing the language. And I was kicked out of home for being trans by my father, which I still love. And on the streets, I saw a lot of people making fun of us, you know, using the streets to do, you know, to urinate and stuff like that. But when you are out in the streets, you don't speak the language. You don't know who to trust. What are you expected to do? I did things that no 17-year-old should be doing, but I did it to survive, because this happens to a lot of trans youth of color in the Valley and everywhere else. On June 5th, 2014, it was the first time that I was stopped, even though I was already applying to become a citizen, and I was asked by, on the freeway, where were you born? I said, I'm a U.S. citizen now. Where were you born? I asked, where were you born? This is not just happening to undocumented people, it's happening to many of us for simply being people of color. I oppose asking for place of birth. I also opposed drones on August 23rd, and it is shocking that it still passed. So I ask you to not collect this information about place of birth. Do not collaborate with ICE. Don't criminalize the vulnerable. Don't go from KKK to CCC.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go back to I'm sorry.
Just Commissioner Sobroff, just if I could say a quick comment. I know, again, it's a break of protocol, but since we're out in the community and we are we have a number of people at our meetings who don't typically occur, I wanted to say just a couple of things. First, notwithstanding the way it sometimes looks, we both deeply appreciate every comment and hear you all. If an item isn't on our agenda, we're unable to talk about it in that moment. So our failure to react doesn't mean we didn't hear or that your comment wasn't important. I also want to just make a quick reference to something that the chief said earlier about the things that occur in our meetings. I try very hard to listen to just about everything that every member of the public says. In order to protect the speech of one individual or all individuals, we're required by law to protect and to accommodate the speech of even the most extreme. And while that is messy and difficult, it is just how our democracy and therefore how these meetings work. I think it's important for everyone to understand that we all, in order to enjoy the privileges and the ability to participate that we enjoy and hold dear, that we've all got to be willing to and able to embrace and tolerate even those things that we don't want to hear. And then finally, as a continued proponent of meetings in the community, I would, and I'm sorry that so many have left, but for those that are our regulars, and I certainly will make the point at our next regular meeting, think that it's critically important that that their integrity extend to hearing and making it possible for those who don't come every week to be able to speak and be heard without interruption. Again, I sincerely and deeply appreciate the participation of each and every member who took the time to come to this meeting and to share with us their support of our department, their concerns about the department, and just to participate in these meetings. And I do know that it's also tough for commissioners, and I'm deeply grateful for the willingness of this board to embrace this kind of a process. And then finally, to the members of the department who are here and who also aren't regular attendees, it's just good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to 3C. Do we have any consent items that don't have any comments?
We have public comment cards on items 3C through I.
Okay.
We have 2 on each. I believe Herman may
Is
have
gone.
left.
Okay, so we'll go.
So that leaves Puppet.
Okay. This one is 3C.
Yes, sir. He's the only public comment card for 3C through I.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, it's because Baldhead's too dumb to do it in the beginning, so $390 to the Dodgers. The Dodger donations. What are we buying? Free police services. When do we want them? Every season. Cynthia McLean Hill
topic.
knows that $390 isn't a free price. This is not a donation. This is a payoff. It's not a donation.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve 3C? All in favor? Aye. Okay, 3D.
We
Three-
have Puppet.
Go ahead. 3D.
3D, $660 fucking dollars from who? The Los Angeles Dodgers. Are we giving this to Puerto Rico? Are we giving
Off
this to
topic.
the Houston area?
Off topic. Can we-
No.
For approval?
Look at this cereal brown egg jackass.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 3E.
We
So-
have Puppet.
Now the Dodgers again, $810. What are we buying? Free police services for the Dodgers. Now we're giving it to the Harbor Area Cadets. The Dodgers. Just write one annual check. How much is this? But what you do is you splice it up into little nuggets, $810. Because what you want to do is you want to talk about being beneficial, and LLC gets a tax deduction. The people getting the money for the food get a tax deduction. And then the Dodgers get free extra cops and policing.
Off topic.
That's right. That's what they're buying, right? With their donations, LLC to be utilized for food and recreational activities for who? For who? The Dodgers buying what? They're getting free police services, so they give an in-kind
motion-
bribe
off
of
topic.
$800
Motion for
through a
approval.
money laundering
3E.
organization.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 3F.
Now we get to the next
have
one.
Puppet.
Yes, another $600 from the Dodgers again. So the South Traffic Division. And this is the beautiful part because the media and everybody leaves and they don't pay attention. This is the most important thing, is that these LLCs, a limited liability corporation, giving a municipal corporation $600 for the benefit of a nonprofit activity. Money laundering. This is what this is. This is the F minus of money laundering. Shane Goldsmith knows it's money laundering, and Cynthia
Off
McLean
topic.
Hill knows it's money laundering, but she doesn't want to sit there and be a voter for the conspiracy to money
Off topic
launder
again. May we- motion for
$600.
approval of, 3F. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. G.
G, we have Wayne from Encino.
Gee, we have a department report, this time for DLE Equipment, Inc. Not an individual, a corporation. Where did they get this money? This money came from donation. The corporation gets a tax deduction. The person from the corporation donating it to the corporation gets a tax donation. What does DLE Equipment get for the benefit? Well, DLE Equipment probably wants to have a city contract. So what better way than to give $2,000 to the headquarters cadet post? And the jackass continues to say, I'm off topic, Mr. City Attorney. You know I'm not. He's breaking the law
motion for approval.
again. He broke it again.
Motion for approval on 3G.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. H.
H, we have Wayne from Encino.
You try it.
Fucking department, fucking report, fucking dated, fucking November 3rd, fucking 2017, fucking relative, fucking to a fucking monetary fucking donation in the amount of $150 fucking dollars from the Griffith Park Lions Club to be fucking utilized for fucking food and fucking recreational fucking activities and fucking events for the fucking benefit of the fucking headquarters fucking cadet fucking post as fucking set forth. B fucking P fucking C fucking number sign fucking 1 fucking 7 fucking dash fucking 0 fucking 4 fucking 3 fucking 7 to fucking approve the fucking department's fucking report and fucking accept the fucking donation. The recommendation for the fucking board action on number each. We've read the department's fucking report, fucking dated fucking November 3rd, fucking 2017, that the fucking Griffith fucking Park fucking Lions fucking Club is not listed as a non-profit that is organized under the state of California to be fucking utilized for fucking food and fucking recreational activities and fucking events because the fucking department says that the fucking North fucking East fucking area fucking cadet fucking program is going to fucking accept this fucking donation. We say fuck the donation and fuck Griffith
Motion
Park.
for approval on H. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. I is the last one.
We have Puppet.
Fucking I, fucking department's fucking report, fucking dated fucking November fucking 3rd, fucking 20 fucking 17, fucking relative to a fucking monetary fucking donation, fucking in the fucking amount of fucking $sign fucking 1 fucking comma, fucking 2 fucking 0 fucking period, fucking 0 comma, fucking from the fucking Los fucking Angeles fucking Phil fucking Har fucking Monic fucking associate fucking Asian to fucking be fucking utilized fucking for fucking food and fucking recreational fucking act fucking activities and fucking events for the fucking benefit of the fucking South fucking traffic fucking division fucking cadet fucking program as fucking set fucking forth in fucking case fucking number B fucking P fucking C fucking number sign fucking 1 fucking 7 fucking dash fucking 0 fucking 4 fucking 3 fucking 5 fucking recommendation fucking for the fucking board action number fucking 1 fucking approve the fucking department fucking report and fucking accept the fucking donation as put fucking forward in the fucking agenda on the fucking meeting of the fucking Los fucking Angeles fucking Pope fucking lease fucking November fucking 7, 2017. And finally, fuck the police. Fuck the donation. Fuck you too.
Motion for approval. All in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?